All right. I love it. Well, everyone, thank you all so much for being here today. I want to say a few words before we get started. Um, this is a special of the Global Geek Gang, joined by Saturday Night Star Trek on a Thursday, and when it's dark on Tuesday. And 100 years ago today, we were given, humankind was given one of its greatest gifts. Just an individual and getting choked up thinking about it who gave us so much. Well, we're all here today. You know, many of us probably know each other because of what this gentleman did. And today we will nothing special, nothing fancy. That's just not what we do here. We just talk about what we think and even what we feel sometimes. And it's a combination of thinking and feeling when it comes to something like this. Because that's what Star Trek is. It's about thought and thinking and ideas and concepts, and it's also about our emotions and how much we love what this man gave us. Eugene Wesley Roddenberry, August 19th, 1921. And he gave us something that will last forever. And even horrible, rotten corporations can hurt it. You can hurt anything. Just as there's maybe a bad episode here and there we don't like. You can hurt anything. You could hurt anyone. You can't destroy it, though. It'll never be destroyed. It'll live in our hearts and minds forever and far beyond us. The real deal Star Trek will. And so thank you, the great bird of the galaxy. I can think of no better name for him than that. I love him. Mm-hmm. And thank you, Gene. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of go around with everyone so everyone can, just initially give some initial thoughts about how they feel about Gene Roddenberry and Star Trek in general, and just whatever they might want to say. We have a great Global Geek Gang for you here and a great Saturday Night Star Trek gang for you here. Big shout out and hats off to my wonderful first officer for that opening. I thought today I was just in the mood to hear that. I love that opening thing. That's, if you ain't trekking to that, you ain't trekking. I love it.
Thanks.
And so But well, yeah, I love it. It's truly. I mean, it always gets me going. So I will ask my first officer to say a little bit about that. Then we're going to go to our special guest. We have a new friend here joining us
Yeah.
today, and then we're gonna go to everyone, even you, Nick, who says you say you're a normie, but we're going to get to you there too, man, because we know, you at least know something about Star Trek. So, and take it away, number one.
Well, before we get too far into it, Dead Man Walking 55 has said, was Wesley Crusher given his name from Gene's middle name at 10 minutes past the hour? Indeed, he was.
Yes.
It was a self insert. And not completely of Gene Roddenberry's own design. I think a lot of it also had to do with the production staff, and sort of brown nosing. So we have a great deal of Wesley. And in DC Fontana's words, we then had the Wesley problem.
Yes.
So self-insert, run amok, and now the production staff has found a way to kiss up to this genius who they admire immensely. So yes, definitely Wesley Crusher was a self-insert, an idealized version of how Gene saw himself. Gene Wesley Roddenberry saw himself as a young, a precocious young man. So yeah. So to answer your question, and further to that, you guys, global, geek, 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 gang, 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 celebrating the great bird of the galaxy, Gene Roddenberry. Would have been 100 today. And isn't he a glorious human being? Somebody who gave us so much hope, someone who appealed to our better nature, our better angels, and found a way to put that on television, and to help us to aspire, to edify ourselves, to be a better version of ourselves tomorrow, not only as individuals, but collectively. And what a power that is as an author. This is a man who did one of the most difficult things a person can do when they sit down to tell a story, and that is to not give you a dystopia, to not point out the evil in the world and make it all seem like you're wagging your finger. This person sat down and showed us how we can be good, how the world can be better, and that is such difficult writing, to create an entire universe where there is a utopia, a hope that we can cling to. So I respect him as a Trekkie. He formed my entire childhood. And I also respect him as an author. What a gifted author. We often see him with producer credits, but Gene Roddenberry was far more than a producer. He was a prodigiously gifted author. And wow, lots to celebrate today.
Absolutely, absolutely. This is a month for two of the greatest creative minds that'll ever live: the great Jack Kirby, the great Gene Roddenberry. And I'm celebrating Kirby month all month, but today is Gene's Day, and he just means so much to so many of us. And we have a new friend here who has never been with us,
Yay!
who is just absolutely sensational in our Saturday night Star Trek chats.
Mm-hmm.
And we love you, Jill. You just give us so much. We really appreciate you hanging out with us on Saturday nights. And I don't I love that name. I love all these different handles we see. We like some of them are just so much fun.
Yeah.
Anti-derivative Jill.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here with us. Talk a little bit about what you think of the Great Bird of the Galaxy, Jill, and welcome.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Clobby and First Officer Raquel. I'm a little bit shy sometimes. I'm much better at writing than speaking, but I'll do my best here. Um, and also thank you for giving me the honor to be able to thank him, because he's meant so much to my life in terms of how I see and interact with the world, and he taught me how to deal more kindly with others, and that humanity is here to do great things if only we can, put aside all the stupid little things we argue about. And um, even though Star Trek said in the post scarcity world, it's also taught me the value of work ethic, teamwork, respect. And I know most of his ashes probably burnt up in Earth's atmosphere, but sometimes I like to pretend that some of the pieces, escaped somehow and are traveling out there somewhere. Um,
Nice. Love that.
but aside from that stuff, it means even more to me because even though it's fictional, it does its best to make the science so believable that people grow up inspired to go into those related fields. And um, I never actually attributed going into computer science with Star Trek, but maybe it did have an influence. Anyway, that's what I have today. Happy 100th birthday, Jean.
Yay!
Thank you so much. And again, like you said, it's the first time or second time to be on the stream. You did wonderfully, and we are very happy to have you here, Jill. And I like that you are anti-derivative. I wish Hollywood was.
Hey, you guys,
Yes,
this
thank
is
you.
the Global Geek Gang, but Jill is a nerd. She is my fellow nerd, so I am so excited that she is here. And although soft-spoken, so incredibly articulate, and such a great fan, anti-derivative Jill, you know I love you. So I'm so excited that you're here today. What a great tribute you've given to Gene Roddenberry. And I doff my cap to you.
Jill, you can be a geek too if you want to. We accept you in the geek.
Well, I
Um,
plan on it. I haven't really gotten into comics yet, but y'all are so excited about it. I might pick one up eventually.
well, you're always welcome. You're always welcome. Another great friend of ours who, whenever he can make it, we are just honored to have him. He is the L and he is the T. He is Lord Doth, my friend. Your views on the great part of the galaxy, sir.
Well, what an introduction. Thanks, Clobby, for inviting me. I really appreciate that. To be a part of this panel is just quite an honor. And everybody out in the chat, thank you for joining us on this journey that started 100 years ago. Imagine that. I just wanted to say that I believe that somewhere out there, there's life after death, and Gene is schooling people on a positive future and how things can be so much better. That he's out there exploring that universe with all the people who have passed before, DeForest, Leonard, Jimmy. It's been tough losing such great people like that, and we're going to lose some more here in the near future, and that's going to be sad. I just want to say that growing up, it was the largest influence on my life outside of family. I think that his vision of the future was something that really instilled in me that hope as well. And that's the biggest thing I take from Gene's journey with us is his vision of hope. I think when he grew up and he became a pilot and was in the military and during the war, and then became a law enforcement officer. I followed the same journey. I was in the Air Force. I joined law enforcement and became a Mountie. And I think that was a big influence on me in going into the sciences when I was a teenager and loving computer science and loving physics and math. And it's funny because Spock was a huge influence on me, but I think that Kirk was as well. And each one of the members of the team had a different aspects to the human condition. I mean, you had the Great Trinity was a symbol for they all had these differences. They weren't the same. They all had these conflicts, but they dealt with them as a team, and that's how they got through adversity in every episode. And that was kind of what I pictured humanity aspiring towards. So this is just an incredible show. I enjoyed Star Wars growing up. My first true love was Star Trek.
Yes, I think a lot of us who do appreciate and love Star Wars, and I really do love it. Yet Star Trek means far more. I mean, that's not a slight to anyone who loves the other better. That's all fine and good. But I think they can coexist. You can love them both. I never saw any kind of conflict between the two. And I do love them both. But Star Trek is far more in my heart. I mean, and it is, Star Wars is something I really enjoy and brings me joy at its best. But Star Trek is in my heart and my soul. And Mr. Nicholas Weiser, you were saying you don't know much about Trek, you were telling me? Or what are your thoughts on this? Since you were a valued member of the Global Geek Gang, have you watched a lot of Trek?
I've not watched a lot of Trek. It was never like something I didn't want to watch. It was just I was consuming. Growing up, Spider-Man, Marvel was a big thing. that was like my big thing. Of course, I had the Ninja Turtles as well, Star Wars. And I was aware of some things because, like, I had a few relatives who were really into Star Trek on the Puerto Rican side of the family. They were really into Star Trek. They would talk about it a lot. And I just remember, like, seeing Patrick Stewart. I can't remember his character's cut, but I always say, man, he would be a great Professor X one day for an X-Men movie. And obviously, lo and behold, that happened 11 times over. I was familiar with some of its themes probably by the time I became a teenager and its influence on culture. I was aware of its influence, and I at least respected that. I about how people were striving to be better, and they were past all the. I guess I don't want to get into cliche words here, but I guess you could say the hate of yesteryear and trying to drive towards a better future and being past all that, which is very interesting because it seems like modern Star Trek, from what I know, seems to want to take several steps back and contradict that and make it modern to what modern times are now, which is very contradictory to what Star Trek is about, and seems to be the common consensus what Star Trek fans of long time have a big complaint about, at least one of a few complaints besides Alex Kurtzman being involved. So I respect it. I do want to start on it. I just got to pick the right time and thing and just make it really happen.
Well, you got plenty of material to work with, but if you ever do get a chance to start at the real beginning, original Trek, and see where you go from there, man. But we appreciate that absolutely for sure, man. So, yes, it's very inspiring, and we have a good buddy here, Retro Dicky. Retro, you're just you love a lot of science fiction. I mean, we talk about it all the time. So, I know you have some regard for Star Trek. I'm fairly sure.
I do. I do. I grew up as a little kid watching it over here in the UK on BBC Two. So I grew up watching the original series. I absolutely loved it. Fantastic for me. Fantastic stories. Fantastic characters. And Gene Roddenberry, for me, and I know we've all said the same thing here. For me, he means hope. That's what he brings to me more than anything. Is hope, because
covered up.
The fact that we can see past further than the end of our nose, that mankind will get to that point where we can strive past everything that holds us back, and we can all move forward as one sort of, and all working together, for the greater good. That's what draws me to it, and it's the thought that if we put our heads together, we can crack this, we can do this, and to inspire to get to that point, because we've seen what wonderful people there are, creative people out there, and we know we can move to that, we can get to that point, and I'm positive one day we will get there. That's that's the hope for me, and that's what Gene Roddenberry means to me, is the hope.
Absolutely, very well said, Retro. And that is it's the key word that will always come up in connection with Gene. Your Muslim uncle with the 199 super chat. Thank you so much, my friend. I'm honored. Really appreciate you for that. Thank you. Hail and peace from Sufi Mom and I. Will hail and peace right back at you, my brother. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you all for being here. We have a great crowd here, as always. Every night, of course, have a great crowd, and thank everyone who hung out with J-Man and myself last night. A big shout out to J-Man. I appreciate you, sir, for hanging out with me last night.
That was a really good stream, Clobby. I really enjoyed that stream with J-Man last night. He needs to be on more often.
Oh, thanks, and I will have him on there. And so, did I grow as an individual? Thought the fact that I changed my opinion on the movie a little bit, a sliver.
I was shocked, but yes, you did grow a little bit. So
I've grown.
You've matured.
I wouldn't go that far.
And his heart grew like 2 more sizes by now. So.
Yeah. Well, I upped my rating of it a little bit. I mean,
I know. I was impressed, and I was happy that I that you did that. So,
Well, I appreciate that. And Jed, by the way, we say welcome to our great friend Mark D with the C. We'll let Jed go next and talk a little about Roddenberry, and then we will let the great Mark D with a C. Welcome, buddy.
Thank you. Welcome.
Hey,
Welcome,
Mark,
welcome.
dude.
Go for it, Jeddy.
Okay, I'm gonna try to say this without getting choked up because I did get to spend some time with him when I was younger. So, if I get straight, like before, I had to mute myself because I was getting choked up. I was almost to the point of tears because I did get to spend some time with him, and like I said before, I got to spend. My parents were at the creation cons when I was younger. They got to do security they worked security. I got to hang with everybody. I got to meet Roddenberry several times, and when I was a younger kid, I didn't know how lucky I was because I would go to school and people are like, "Hey," they're like, "What did you do this weekend, Jed?" And I'm just like, I've hung with my parents and other people, and because every time I said something, they were like, "Oh, you're bullshit." And then I'm like, "Dude, I got proof right here, Polaroids and everything." Like, like, yes, Polaroids were how we took pictures back then. So just wanted to make that picture, and he took a picture, and he came out of the thing. But
So we can blame you for Wesley then.
no, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. No,
I don't know. I think I'm blaming you now, but go ahead.
but yeah, he means a lot because, like you said, he gave us the hope for a better future, to see things not in such a grim and dystopian view. He gave us the to be better, that we can, when, like you said, and I'm not trying to repeat everybody, that everybody, when they put their minds together, that there's a better thing out there. And it's just, we can all do it, and not what people put us against one another on purpose. But Gene was a man ahead of his time with his vision and everything else. And when I was younger, I didn't exactly understand, when I got older, how lucky and how just I was, that I got to spend time with him, with my parents and everybody else, because when you're younger, you don't understand a bunch of stuff, So it hurts me inside that we go from, and then me and Retro were talking about this last night. It hurts me inside that we see how Star Trek is today. It isn't, it just isn't. It's all the values that Gene installed himself into Star Trek aren't there no more. I'm like, and the only reason why I get so hyped sometimes is because, as Star Trek was one of my first things, along with Doctor Who and comic books. It was Star Trek, Doctor Who, and comic books were the first three things that got introduced to me. Well, along with it all happened boom, 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 So it went. It just, I cannot say it enough. And I've had I never got to meet DC. I think I met him, but it just,
Who?
DC Fontana.
Did you say him?
Steven said he got the privilege of meeting DC Fontana over in Leonard. So
DC Fontana is a woman.
Yeah, I know.
Her name is Dorothy.
Yeah,
Dorothy.
But I never got to meet her. So, but I can't. Yeah, I know.
It's all right, man. Collect yourself.
And then, like, I can remember the day that I was out somewhere, and then somebody told me the day I was actually out at our state fair. The day that happened, and I said, I didn't get told. And then when I got back home, there was an email, and they're like, Jed, I gotta tell you something. I was like, what? He's like, he passed away. Like, and I was like, oh. Because I hated that I found out was from the newspaper, you know.
I heard it on the radio, so no one
Yeah,
did.
I found out from the newspaper. So,
Well, I want to
but
say,
yeah, I cannot say how much that we were so lucky to have this man on the face of the earth, because he showed us that there's a better future, that we can all work together, that there is humanity in humanity, you know? I don't know if that makes sense. You know, I'm just trying to get my
That does,
feelings
Jed.
out.
Yeah, it does, Jed. I get it. I get it. It's a
Eh,
very emotional topic to talk about. I
Yeah,
understand.
because, you know, it's super near and dear and close to my heart. You know,
Yeah,
so
of course.
I'm sorry, I'm getting
all right.
somebody else go. I'm just
Well, before we do that, I
no,
wanna-
you're okay.
oh
Sorry.
no,
What-
no,
what-
go ahead, Jill. I was just going to acknowledge the super chats real quick, because I
I'll-
want to get back up on him. Go ahead.
All Gene wanted out of people who make Star Trek is for it just to remain Star Trek. But of course,
Yeah.
Kirkman did have to go and throw all of it out the window, except all he kept was the diversity. But even there, he got it wrong. We want people of all backgrounds to be in Starfleet and the universe. But the problem was when in the scripts actively segregate people from one another and make them cruel to one another in order to elevate somebody else. And instead, Star Trek's supposed to be about everybody getting together, egalitarianism, regardless of how they appear.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
basically, it is to follow. I mean, Gene must have followed Martin Luther King's premise of judging one another on the content of their character and on an individual basis, because of course we know MLK let his children watch it. And then Kurtzman further gets so bogged down with his chauvinism that he believes that he's saving the world, and instead he's only destroying our mythology. But Gene's vision is still alive, and while I wish it were alive with Star Trek, at least it's still going on with the Orville.
At least,
So
yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But before we move on, everyone, I just want to get this acknowledgments because I want to thank Max Redstone for the $2 super chat. I blame Wesley. He's worse than Khan. Yes, he is. He is the destructor. Now we know Wesley is Jed's fault.
No, it isn't.
Never. Darius Munchausen, 149 super second. Thank you so much, Darius. Appreciate that. We got to blame somebody. That's kind of, that's still part
Well,
of
it's not me.
Gene was trying to improve the human condition, but the blaming part still stays. So we have to blame someone. The great Mark D with the C, buddy. Your thoughts on Gene Roddenberry?
Oh, thank you. Yep, it was fantastic to be on the show, and it's great to welcome Anti-Derivative Jill. She's been incredible in the Saturday Night Trek with her comments. They're all A+++. 5 out of 5 triples. So it's great to be on the stream with you, and welcome to the panel. And we've enjoyed you in the chat, and enjoy you just as much, I'm sure. Listening to you speak on the panel. So welcome, and great to be on with you.
thank you. Glad to be here.
Thank you. So as Jed said it really well, and I was listening a little bit as I was running around work, but hope for the future. That's what Star Trek symbolizes to me, and what everyone has said in terms of humanity and a better vision, and that's where quote unquote the filth or STD is gotten it wrong. I mean, there's been a couple of seconds here and there, but basically it's unrecognizable as a Trek. And let's draw on the positive. So we've got the original series, which is fantastic. You've got TNG and Voyager and Enterprise and some fantastic shows and series, and it's just you can always go back. We complain, if you don't like some of the new comics that are coming out, hey, you got the old comics to read. You've got some amazing Star Trek comics to read. And as a kid, I think my first memory probably of searching the old rusty memory banks is probably watching the episode Arena, and that's probably the one I have maybe because of the Gorn, the Gorn and the fight with Kirk between the other captain. Maybe that's stuck in my juvenile brain. But as you get older, you see the meaning behind the episodes and what was being taught to you, and not not banging over the head for lack of a better word. If you look at the Gorn episode, Arena, as a young kid, that's just an action episode, and you're fighting the bad guys, and the Gorn are really, they're the evil aggressors. But then when you get older, you see the nuances, and maybe the Federation had, settled on the planet, and maybe the Gorn were just protecting their interests, and even though they look, like a monster, hey, they're intelligent creatures, they have space flight. So there's a different level. The same thing with like Devil in the Dark, which I think is one of my favorite episodes, where you've got the Horda, which is on its surface, a terrifying monster, maybe kind of like the Blob, if anyone remembers that old 50s sci-fi movie. On the surface, it's just a horrible creature that's killing people, but then you find out it's a mother that's protecting its young. So that's what's so brilliant about Star Trek, where you've got multiple levels, and they can be interpreted to issues confronting us today, but it's a beautiful allegory. It's not a show saying, hey, you've got to do better, you guys are all evil and horrible, do better. It's showing you through what the characters do, and how that scene in Devil in the Dark where Kirk actually says don't fire, don't shoot, and he's got that moment of a humanity where he resists just grabbing the phaser and shooting. So those are those great moments that it's just so well written. It's just and as a kid, it was just such a fun thing to watch and then grow with. And in college, we'd watch it every night at midnight. And it's something I shared with all my, good friends that were nerds/geeks. We'd watch Star Trek, and that was kind of our thing. And then we played the FASA role-playing game. I think LT also played that. Maybe some other people on the panel, played that, and the role-playing. And it was just, part of it was part of growing up with Star Trek. And not to ramble on too much, last thing I'll say is, like, we had a game with our buddies. Like, when the Star Trek episode came on, whoever could name it first, won the no prize or whatever. That was like that was a fun little thing between us, like, name the episode. So it's just all around, a great addition to our culture, and I think it did help a lot of people, and it did change the way a lot of people viewed the future of humanity. And it's just we lost Gene, but he's left us an amazing legacy that we can enjoy for years and years to come.
Well, what Gene did is he left a template for humanity to go on to, like you said, it's like you not preaching down your throat, but he's like, hey, there is hope, there is a better way, we can do this, we can all be brothers and sisters, we can all come together, we can do this. And it's like, I agree with you, Mark. Back when I was little, I was like, oh, the Gorn, I was like, go Kirk, beat them. But when you get older and you understand this, you're like, oh my God, there was actually meaning and stuff to this. And I didn't get this because, like I said, I got told, like, I talked to Gene and he told me things. He goes, when you get older, I know right now this doesn't, because you just like watching a Kirk and going there and like a big bad, big macho guy. You know what I'm saying? A person. Yeah, but
what you're trying to say, there's the action.
There's the action, but
versus the thinking, smart.
Yeah, but he,
as Raquel always says, the brain's bookshelf.
Yeah.
How did you phrase, Raquel?
Stack of books with legs, right?
Stack of books with legs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He go ahead.
Gene wanted us to be able to see the perspective of everybody, not just our heroes. He wanted us to know what our villains were going through too.
Well, and I will say this: it's kind of like
they weren't necessarily villains either.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like the Dalek episode, the Genesis of the Daleks, where Tom Baker goes in there and he has just 2 wires, and he goes, "Do I have the right to wipe out a whole species?" And he has it. He can wipe out the Daleks, but he doesn't do it because he thinks about that. Old school Doctor Who, old school Real Trek, and everything else, they give you lessons. They show you, just because you can do this doesn't mean you should do it. You've got
to see the bigger picture and see everything for the better method and the better way to go.
Yeah. Yes. I believe Jill, you had something you wanted to cover. Is that did you?
Yes, I do. I have something I want to cover about Oatmeal comic that was written. So there's this artist. He makes comics called the Oatmeal, and my
Uh-huh.
favorite thing that he did was he created one about Gene Roddenberry.
Oh, okay, that's
Um,
right. You showed me that one.
yeah, yeah. But to save from copyright, I won't be showing it. But it has a lot of heart in it. Yeah, even though if you research this event, it may be different depending on where you look it up. But it's about Gene after the war when he became a commercial co-pilot, and this plane was going to crash, and he was dead manning or something. And when his crew directed him,
dead sticking.
dead
Yep.
sticking.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I
Dead
forget.
stick. Yep.
I'm not a pilot or anything.
I'm gonna put the
Um,
link up in a
when
second.
his
Go ahead.
crew when his crew directed him to comfort the passengers, make sure they're all buckled up and stuff. And he tried to tell them that it'd be okay. I'm not sure if he believed that or not, but he did manage to get everybody situated, and it did crash in the desert, and there were a few who survived. And even though he had broken ribs, he and the crew worked hard. They worked together to get them all out, or at least as many as they could. There were many who perished, but no one was there to. Well, I guess there were some locals there that helped a bit, that he had to make friends with, even though he couldn't speak their language. And eventually they found this village with the radio. And after this experience was when he decided to do something else with his life and made Star Trek. And Oatmeal says his purpose for telling this story is to remind you that our journeys are short. And this is his quote: Roddenberry saw life's ephemeral ephemeral nature lit up against a backdrop of the stars. He saw that we were all passengers pitching downward into the night. He saw that we were all helpless, so get up and help someone. But then I listened to an interview with Roddenberry himself, and he has a quote about it too. And he says, "There really is no such thing as bravery. We humans are capable of all sorts of things given the circumstances. I was trapped into doing certain things, being the surviving officer of that crew. There was no bravery involved. You just do what you have to do. And all humans are capable of that."
They are.
Yeah.
Everybody
Spoken like a
is.
truly brave individual.
He won an
Yeah, not
aviation
taking
award
credit.
for that as well. He won a hero's award for
Oh, yeah.
for what he did on that day.
Yeah.
It's interesting that Jill brings that up. We lost somebody. But it's interesting that you bring that up, Jill, because the two gentlemen that the gentleman we're celebrating today and all month on this show, Jack Kirby, both of them served in that war with distinction and heroism, and they can say they're not brave all they long they were to be doing that. And so again, two great creators, and a documentary called Kirby at War talked about how focused a lot on how it affected his creative work after the war. And it's interesting that I think a lot of what Roddenberry did, of course, because like all writers, if a lot of it's formed from his experiences, and in this case, him at war, I think influenced a lot of what he wrote even before Star Trek. And there's a thing a lot of people don't know about Gene, don't really think about that much. He did a few things before Star Trek. He actually produced his own show that was called The Lieutenant, I believe, if I remember right, Raquel. That was a series that he actually produced. That wasn't Shatner on an episode of that, or
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Nimoy was too.
And so there you go. Yeah, and they were he also was the regular writer from what, in my opinion, the greatest Western TV show of all time, Half Gun Will Travel. And if you I'm telling you, if you watch an episode, it was a great show. Richard Boone is fantastic. Roddenberry wrote about 20 some odd episodes, 22, 23, whatever. If you watch a Roddenberry episode, and again, this is a few years before Star Trek, of course, it's very Trek in the sense that Roddenberry, I see. After, obviously I saw Star Trek years before I finally got a chance to see Half Gun back in the 90s. Now I've watched those Half Gun episodes over and over again, especially some of his. And when I watch certain things that Paladin does in an episode, and when I watch, not only that, when I watch Roddenberry episodes are filled with humor sometimes, They're filled with great characterization. He had a character that recurred in 2 episodes named Robert April, if that rings a bell to you, that he later used for the name of his captain initially. But his episodes feel, in a sense, like a Trek Western because they're filled with morals, but they're also with great drama, great character interaction and interplay. And it's just, again, you could, I guess, if you're going and maybe knowing it's a Roddenberry script, you see his name on it, so maybe that's influencing you. But I think if you didn't know that and you just watched an episode, then later, if you're a Trek fan, you find out later H.G. Roddenberry wrote that, you go, wow, kind of, there's a feel to it. And there are other episodes written by a lot of great writers who went on to do other great things in Hollywood, screenwriters and such on that show, because the show lasted 6 years. A Roddenberry script is not exactly like any of the other ones. Some of them by like Henry Julian Fink, the guy who went on to create Dirty Harry. A lot of other different writers, in their stylistic, tone to their episodes. There's nothing quite like a Roddenberry episode. He has a humor one. He has a couple of them that rely on humor, and a couple of them that rely on tense, dramatic situations. And at that time, he was very frank in his writing. If Paladin was going to blast somebody, he would do it. And yet, the whole tone of Paladin is this gun for hire, and yet he's so Trek that there are times when he will side with what is right. He will waive his fee. Paladin often is a peacemaker. Often negotiates for peace between people, has said, and I think Roddenberry was one of the first ones who wrote this line. People think he was a hired gun, so they would try to hire him to kill somebody. And he would say, I am not an assassin. And he would often, if someone tried to hire him to do that, he would go for good and go against the one who tried to hire him for that. Roddenberry introduced that into the character, he and Richard Boone. Anything he wrote, even before Star Trek, is reflected. It reflects a certain style, even if it's a story with violence in it. A character, yes, sometimes pushed to violence, as Kirk even had to fight many times. But just as even Paladin in the Old West setting would try to solve his problems before having to draw the gun, Roddenberry, I think, brings a lot of that to bear with the types of intelligent stories he does. And it's reflected in things he did later. Like I said, I didn't see The Lieutenant. I never got a chance to see it. I would like to see that show. Mm-hmm. But he also wrote scripts. Roddenberry wrote scripts for The Virginian, mm-hmm. and a bunch of other Westerns as well, like the here and there. So he was a great writer before he created Star Trek.
Mm-hmm. That's so true. It's
it is.
It's so true. I wish more people knew that and understood that. It's quite funny because Gene spoke openly in interviews about what it was like creating at that time when the public and studios were virtually obsessed with the Western. And he's very much like you, Clobby. It's one of the reasons why you love him so much. Very drawn to character and concept, and he cared very deeply for character and concept. So when faced with these Westerns, he became incredibly creative in bringing that character and those concepts to bear on these rather otherwise simplistic formats for delivering story. And so when Roddenberry does a Western, it's just got so much more context. It's just so much more enjoyable because he is so driven towards these magnificent characters and concepts. And then, of course, he was forced into that same sort of idea in pitching Star Trek, because they wanted these Westerns, and he said, okay, well, I can give you a wagon train in space.
Stars.
Yeah, and that happened. But it's always interesting to me that you bring up how he was a part of this whole Westerns part of our epoch, our obsession with the Western and settling the Old West. and Jean's connection to that, and Jean's connection with that. So yeah, I just absolutely love it whenever you start talking about that character and that concept, and loving his Western work. We're seeing somebody who wanted to revolutionize that form of storytelling and take it to a new height, take it to a new level. And I think that's where your affinity comes from, Clobby, and I just absolutely love it.
Well, thanks. Thanks. So again, he wrote some of my top episodes of that. He also, as many again, look, we're here for he created Star Trek. He tried again with some other things in the '70s that didn't stick, but they were. I mean, Quester tapes would have been a great show, but the pilot's really good. And I recommend to any of you, if you're a Star Trek fan and you haven't seen his '70s pilot, Spectre is a very interesting one as well. Some sort of dabbling in the supernatural. Predating X-Files by 20 years, really, in a sense.
Yeah.
The Quester tapes, the character of Quester, in my opinion, Data is Quester. He didn't get a chance to do the Quester show, and he explored Quester a little bit more with the character of Data. I think Data's based on Quester. I really do.
Yeah.
And if you watch the Quester tapes, you might come to the same conclusion. And he's talked, I don't know if he's actually ever said it outright, but it seems that way to me. Genesis 2 and Planet Earth.
Yeah.
Again, pretty interesting concept. You know what's funny about those, Raquel, if any of you seen those?
I have.
They are set in dystopian times, and he still puts the hope in there. In other words,
he does.
Yes, bad things happened, and Earth is in a bad way, but the character of Dylan Hunt, which is the name he used later for that show Andromeda, but the character of Dylan Hunt, played by two different guys. Was it Kent McCord? I forget the guys.
Sorbo.
Jason Cord. No, I mean the old show though.
The old
Alex
show.
Cord. Alex Cord, and then John Saxon of all people.
Yeah.
He tried 2 pilots for that.
Yeah.
But I recommend anyone to go look at those '70s pilots.
Yeah.
I really love the Quester tapes,
especially Quester, because he worked with Gene L. Kuhn on that.
Yes.
And, he that was his baby, but of course Gene had some addiction issues, and that created some health issues, and then it exacerbated his health issues. So by the time he got to the Quester tapes, he wasn't in the best shape physically, but I wish that would have taken off and would have been a huge sensation. It would have been wonderful.
Can you find those on YouTube, or that you have to purchase them?
I don't know. They're not out on DVD that I know of, but I think they might. Someone probably is. But they're fairly. I have some copies, some burned copies, but I think they're probably on. They might be on YouTube. I have to check.
I saw them on YouTube many years ago. A lot of people weren't on YouTube. So what ended up happening is that's right before YouTube started to get into a lot of trouble with copyright. Yeah. So I haven't seen hide nor hair of them since. And I would absolutely love it, Mark, if you found anything in that way. Please let me know, because I would just absolutely love to buy it. It has been years since I watched Genesis 2 and Planet Earth. And what's really funny is because of David Attenborough, when you type in Planet Earth now, it's almost impossible to find Planet Earth. So now I feel like I have my own little special thing that happened because I'm old enough to have watched it. Because of course now the algorithms take over and they direct you to David Attenborough. So finding Planet Earth is nearly impossible, and everyone should watch it because it is just so much fun.
Well, they're saying you can purchase them as a MOD by Universal Pictures Vault. I'll keep looking and see if I can find a place we can purchase it or find it. It might not still be available. I'll look for it.
And for those who are listening at home, the reason why I'm asking Mark D with a C is he is a bloodhound. Not only is he a maker, but he is a bloodhound at finding original gangster material on the internet. So thanks for doing that for us.
And of course, Mark. we have an amazing chat. So
Tyrell says they're on Blu-ray now.
That'd be awesome. Yeah.
Now, when you say those, Tyrell, do you mean those all 4 of those pilots, or just Genesis 2 and Planet Earth, Quester? Which ones? They should put them all out.
Put them all out. We'll
here we go. Here we go. We got it. The Vault, Universal Vault. Yep.
Universal
I've
does
seen
that.
it on. I'm seeing it on DVD, and let's see if we can find. Oh, Genesis,
one?
Genesis
Which
2,
ones?
Planet Earth. That's on Blu-ray. Here we go.
Okay,
That's
nice.
amazing. Okay, so this is a recent development because last time I checked,
Yeah.
I think it was VHS.
Hey,
There we
get,
go.
get,
I knew
get
it.
him
I
up,
think.
dude. Get him up, dude. Let's have a look.
Oh.
Yeah,
Let me
yes,
show-
retro,
Yeah.
yes.
Oh hell
Let's
yeah.
cost that. Let's enable our friends here.
Yes.
Let's cost everyone some money.
Because Mark is such a good enabler.
Yeah.
At least they're not $300 like it is for a hot
Yeah,
toy.
this is $18. I know what the fee to ship it to the other planet of Canada is, but
Yeah, $900 for Babylon 5.
Yeah,
That's
quadruple
crazy.
the price if you want to buy it in Canada.
Yeah.
so thank you, Tyrell,
No.
for that.
Thank you,
tip.
Tyrell. Appreciate
That's
the tip
going in
there.
mine.
Tyrell.
Dude.
Mwah,
Hail
mwah,
to you,
mwah.
sir.
Tyrell 72 is from Saturday Night Star Trek, and I'm so happy you are here, Tyrell. I did not know that. I haven't checked, so this is fabulous. Look at what we're accomplishing today with the Global Geek
Yeah.
Gang.
Excellent. Take it easy, Pat S. Brother. Good to see you, man. We thank you for being
Later,
here.
Pat.
I am of
Later,
the old
bud.
school. Spread the wealth.
Yes, indeed. Yes,
Mhm.
indeed.
Study hard,
Um,
Pat S. Study hard.
Bye, Pat.
Absolutely.
Take care, Pat
Absolutely.
S.
Shout out to my fellow Canadians in the chat too. Looks like we're out in force.
Yes.
Bye, Pat S. Take care, dude.
Yep.
Canadian
Yeah.
Spider-Man is here.
All right. Yo, we got a lot of great people here. We got a chance to
Chris
say hello
Persia.
to all of them. The great Eric K. What's up? The great Chris
Hey,
Persia.
okay.
Terrell, thank you for that info. The great Canadian Spider-Man who does whatever a Canadian spider can.
Yes.
Brett Cohen, buddy. Let's see who else is in there.
I
Pop
think we
culture
hit almost-
activists are in there.
I think we hit almost 30 watching too. That's pretty
Yeah.
good for a Thursday afternoon.
It is indeed. Thank
Brightest
you all.
Day is here
Darius,
as well.
Oh,
Darius
Janet.
is here.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And Darius Munchausen's here. Hello, sweetheart.
Yeah.
Mwah,
Hey
mwah,
there.
mwah.
Captain is Decker the replicant Spock. Hey, is he? I love that
I
name
just
too.
still call them Cockneys.
Yeah, we still call him Cockney pretty much.
Yeah.
That's 70s. Hey,
Yeah.
70s, buddy. Good to see you. Eastern Burkholder. Good to
Oh,
see you.
hey. I stand
right.
with. I prefer not knowing if Deckard is a replicant or not. I don't want to know because that
That's something. Yeah.
it's just better for the story to not know, to always be
Make
because
your own mind up. Make your own
everybody's
mind
on the
up.
fence, right? You're either
Yeah, yeah.
for it or against it, and I'm kind of like I don't want to know.
Yeah.
Well,
Make
I don't
your own-
blame
make
you.
your own mind
I
up.
don't blame you. Stephen Thompson, hello there. Also, disaster area. Wanted to say a couple more hellos to people that didn't see my chat.
Hey.
Doesn't go back far back.
Guess who's
but
here?
we appreciate you.
I
Ooh,
have
ooh.
to interrupt you because
go ahead.
you're going to want me to interrupt you here. I beg your pardon, Captain. Guess who just walked through the door? Snail
Hey.
Messiah.
Snail.
And Snail
Nail your
Messiah,
shoulders.
something weird went on with our StreamYard on Saturday Night Star Trek, and we tried to reach out to you through a bunch of your friends, mutual friends who were in the chat. We just wanted to say to you how wonderful it is for you to be a part of the Saturday Night Star Trek
Yes.
community, and we wanted to thank you for your amazing $20 super chat that night. We don't know why it didn't appear. Whatever you said in that super chat, please show up next Saturday. Whatever you said in that super chat, please go ahead and type that in again in the community, in the live chat, and we will have a full discussion about that. You were absolutely marvelous on Saturday Night Star Trek. We appreciate you so much, and you were such excellent company, and your participation was absolutely wonderful. So we are so happy that you're here at the Global Geek Gang, because Clobby and I were so concerned that we didn't even get to thank you for such a generous donation. So, Snail Messiah!
Thank you, Snail Messiah, for that.
Hooray.
Yeah,
Hail the
absolutely.
shellness.
Yes, Snail. Thank you so much for that. I'm so sorry we didn't. It calls like Danish kroner. That's what they call it. I didn't. I was wondering what it was called. I do appreciate that. Thank you so much. We were distraught that you had to run out before we were able to find that. I didn't. But at least you told us about it. And my apologies. And sometimes the StreamYards does that. YouTube didn't even show it, at least on our end. So thank you so much. It is much appreciated. And the Druce has been here for. There you go. Good to see you.
Woo!
Brightest day, no evil shall escape sight. Apollome's minion and
The Pepperoni.
hey, Apollo Man. Thank you, by the way, for that picture, Apollo Man. I'm figuring out a way for a place for you to send it. So give me time. You're too kind. You did not have to do that, but I am honored that I saw some of those cool things you made for Garrett. You are amazing with those bead pictures. I mean,
Yeah.
fantastic.
It's incredible. Yeah, it's incredible.
Awesome.
Yeah, great
Awesome.
stuff. Wonderful work there. So, Jill, I believe you had something else to add. Am I wrong, or did you say you were trying to say something? Tell us something earlier.
Did I? I don't really, but
Okay, no,
I do
I'm gonna
have.
put you on the spot, but go ahead.
Okay. I do have one thing about the. Many of us believe that Star Trek has a huge impact, giving us hope for humanity's future, both technologically and in how we deal with one another. But his actual reason for presenting us with this, of having gotten past the ugliness, was born out of his fear for what he saw in humanity in the present. And I guess that's why he gave us the Romulans and Klingons to have more human-like attributes, so that we could address those concerns in a way that allowed us to step outside the box, to look in and evaluate our own ourselves that way. Also, Star
Mhm.
Trek was just fun. So that's what we're missing nowadays, is that fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
We are.
There is a key thing that you hit on there, Jill. And by the way, has anyone seen Ash lately? We're missing Ash. Ash is supposed to be busy.
Yeah, where's Ash?
Yeah, he's been busy.
He's a
Okay.
gamer.
We
Before
miss
we
him.
go any further, folks, and the conversation gets derailed, Max Redstone, who is a big fan of this channel, he supports this channel and this show and others. He has to step away, so I just want to give a shout out to Max Redstone. We will see you on Saturday night. Thank you so much for joining us today. Great company, and have a wonderful day.
Max, thank you so much. It's great to see you here. You know, you hit on a one of the best points there can be hit on there, Jill, and that is, if this show wasn't any good, the message wouldn't mean anything. I mean, it would be a nice message, but you can say that to each other in passing all the time. So the fact that he made you had to make a compelling and intriguing show, an entertaining show, bottom line, because this is TV. And that's what has always amazed me about Star Trek. First of all, obviously, there are episodes, you know, that we review them when we're reviewing them on Saturday nights, for example, we're reviewing their artistic and entertainment value. In other words, even if we think an episode's crappy, if there's something that has to say, we'll always point out, say, you know, this was a good element of Trek in there and such. But we are reviewing them from an artistic standpoint. Is this a good episode? Is it not? What have you? Because ultimately, it's a TV show. And there's the thing: if this show wasn't entertaining and engrossing and didn't get you involved, as it does because of its, again, as the aforementioned characterization, it does it with its characters and its ideas and yes, its stories many times, then we wouldn't be having this conversation. So this is a highly entertaining TV show. The thing is, there are tons of highly entertaining TV shows. So this is distinguished by the fact that it is that, and it touches something inside of people. Unlike, I mean, some of the greatest shows ever, you can go, that's a great show, I really love it. It doesn't necessarily affect your life or your philosophies. I mean, not that you don't learn things from other TV shows or movies. I'm not saying Star Trek is the only thing that's ever been, inspirational in that sense. But Star Trek, to me, is unique in that it's probably the one TV show that is there are a couple other very popular TV shows. It became a world phenomenon for other reasons, just in the fact that it is loved and entertaining, and people, for example, I love Doctor Who. Love it. It's a world phenomenon as a TV show, but none of it really based on people going, Doctor Who gives me hope. Yes, the Doctor is a hopeful character, don't get me wrong. The Doctor is an inspiring character, don't get me wrong. But the show really was not made for altruistic purposes for that. It was made to entertain kids. Then it blew up and became really popular, but it is pure entertainment, and it was never made to have a message, even though that was injected into the story sometimes. Star Trek was made, yes, as a TV show, but Roddenberry had something to say. And that resonates. It's a phenomenon for more than the reasons of it just being a popular and fun to watch show. However, it is important that Jill points that out, that it is fun. Although, yeah, obviously some episodes can be somber in a good way. Like City Edge Forever, for example, punches you in the gut. It rips your heart out at the end. But there are also fun parts of the episode. It's a brilliant episode because it has everything. It has everything. There's some funny moments between Kirk and Spock and things like that. And then at the end, it rips your heart out and you love it.
Yep.
Trek is wonderful when and at its best when it does that. So I think it's
sometimes
important.
you can share.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Jim.
No, that was it.
But let's not forget that Gene had a great team behind him too, and a lot of those episodes, absolutely, you can see his fingerprints on it. And a lot of his early life and what he did as a career dictated how he wrote and how he envisioned the series, especially Star Trek, because that's the one that was the most popular that he had written. He had won awards before for other shows, like Have Gun Will Travel. Absolutely, his first award he won was in that show, right? But I think that what he did was he took that life and a life of a lot of the other writers to write those shows and translated that into television. There was a lot of stuff that happened coming out of the war. You had the 50s and 60s, and the world was in a tough place. We had just had that major world war. You were staring down Vietnam and everything that was going on in the United States, especially because obviously that's where he was writing from, really dictated how those shows were. And it is so much so a Western in space and Wagon Train to the Stars kind of thing, because you can see the Western influence in all the episodes and the costumes in the sets in the Enterprise. Like, it was all the colors and bright colors and short skirts, and it was so awesome, and it was really influenced everybody in those times right into the 70s.
Yeah, absolutely it did. And we got some crazy background noise, so I hope everyone's doing that's okay.
It's Retro Dicky has a squeaky chair.
I wasn't sure if that was a chair or a pupper.
I thought he was disagreeing with me.
He doesn't have a dog. He doesn't have a dog.
I thought he was going to throw something at me there if we were close.
Talk, you make such an interesting point, because Apollo, oh my goodness.
Oh,
wow.
Nice.
Says, thank you for the $20 super chat, Apollo. You were too kind, my dear. I'm honored. Thank you so much. I like Star Trek, she says, because it was fun. You're welcome, Clobby.
Yeah.
Hello to the panel. I love listening to everyone's passion for this IP. Well, thank you so much, Apollo. I hope you're being safe out there. I know you're a lot of times you're out there on the road. We love you, and I appreciate you so much. You are too kind, my friend.
Yeah, we do.
Thank you.
Please give the little pupper a smooch for us. Cutest little
Yes,
one.
that is such a cute puppy. Hey there, Janet from another planet. Good to see you.
Janet.
Interplanet Janet, she's a galaxy girl.
Nice.
I love it.
Snortapoopus is here.
Hold on.
Now we know what's happening.
There you go.
I think Raquel has to go in the other room to be able to do that without setting off the speakers and the mic there.
You know how I do it, LT? I actually turn my head completely away from the microphone and cover my mouth with my hand. Then I yell it as loud as possible.
Well, thank you. We all appreciate that.
Sets off next door's car alarm.
We tried
I
to
dare
imitate
say
yesterday
thank you.
with Raymond, but we never equaled the Snortapoopus Raquel call out.
You know how
I
it started? It started because I wanted to make it as silly as possible and break it down, because every time Clobby tried to say it, he couldn't say it.
it took me a while.
Tried to say the name like Anaximandabear. So whenever he has a problem with someone's name, I try my best to give him something to remember it by. And thus, the Snortapoopus yell was born.
Well,
Right.
that's why you're the professional among us, Raquel.
I also think somebody mentioned there was a couple of Steves in the chat too there, I think.
Oh, well,
Yes,
you
that's
know
what
what
I was
that
going to
means.
say.
There you
These are
go.
the Steves I know. These are the Steves I know.
See, Snortapoopus is hers, Dr. Herky Monkey is mine. He's not here, but if he was, he would get his Dr. Herky Monkey.
Yes, when
We love
that's
Dr.
when you
Herky.
hear a Clobby yell, and Clobby yells just as loud as I do. We're very obnoxious, but yeah,
Yes.
whenever he sees Dr. Herky Monkey, boy, it comes right out.
You know something, Captain Deckard? Captain is Deckard, Cotney. That will never happen. I love Sitting on the Edges Forever. I don't disagree with about the illogical time travel, but I love the episode so much it gets a pass, buddy.
Oh yeah.
When you're that good, you get a pass. What the hell?
Yeah, it's so excellent that story.
Yeah, it's such a great episode. But
Yeah,
I
Star Trek
know where
does
you're
have a
coming
lot
from.
of those. It has a lot of those grand entities that we'll never understand because we're a child race who are just not ready for it.
Right. And Jill, like the thing about that is that we've, I think Raquel and I've touched on this once in a while. Time travel in Star Trek can be, I mean, there's some great episodes with it, no question of it. It can be like a separate topic amongst itself. In fact, we should probably do that one of these days because I have some people love it and some people don't. I know some Trek fans that say, God, I hate a time travel episode, even though there's some great ones. I mean, they just don't like it being overused, I suppose is what they mean. Not that they hate every episode of time travel. And they can do a little bit, I don't know. But hey, there's undeniably great episodes that involve it. So, yeah.
Is the Guardian of Forever a replicant?
Yes.
Well, the science behind the science fiction sometimes has to be stretched to have a good story.
Yes.
But I like how we never had to explain it in the old days, but now you try to do it in like that Discovery. I don't even call it ST Discovery. It's just Discovery. It's not Star Trek. I think that what they try to do in the later shows when time travel is involved is they're trying to explain it with their stupid logic, and it just doesn't work because it's not science at all. It is fiction.
Pseudo logic.
Exactly, and it makes no sense how they do it.
Well, the Guardian of Forever is supposed to be so advanced that it would seem magical to us. So what it does, it highlights how little we know about science. So that's what it invokes.
Exactly.
But when something is fantasy and it tries to explain it through Nintendo-like.
Well, it's funny.
Bowser's and so on, and
it's not
so
even
forth.
Super Nintendo. It's just plain Nintendo.
Yeah. Exactly, right? So, and that's the disconnect. The Star Trek is made for science fiction or science fiction because it reminds us that we have a pitiful understanding of the universe, whereas science fantasy will create these moments where you breach science, where there's no connection to science at all. So you're not reaching for science and technology or grappling with science and technology. You're succumbing to a fantasy, a magic, and that's the distinction.
As a species, we've barely learned to walk.
Yeah.
Well, we've even talked about that. Go ahead.
We don't even know what's in our oceans. So,
Well, that's again. There's the point. But we've even talked about that on Saturday Night Star Trek. Sometimes some things need to be explained in a story, some things don't.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it depends. There are a lot of really dumb things in the third season that we've talked about. Going, you know what? That's pretty stupid. You need to explain how on a planet that supposedly has so many people that no one can move, they can build a complete and utter replica of the Enterprise of that size. By the way, that has functioning turbo lifts and all this other crap. Mark of Gideon is stupid. Whereas I require no explanation for the Guardian for the exact reasons that you mentioned, Raquel.
Yeah, and it's also important to remember that the TOS that sucks is actually the corporate TOS. So and everybody needs to keep that in mind. Folks think that we only pick on the filth. We pick on all corporate commandeering of IPs and wonderful storytelling. So we definitely get into that on Saturday Night Star Trek for sure.
I will take the worst episode of TOS over every single episode of Picard and Discovery in existence.
Yeah.
I agree with you, LT.
Sorry, Jill. I didn't mean to interrupt there.
No, that's okay. Well, even though we do we do have criticisms of the real Star Trek, at least it still is real Star Trek.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And funny about the thing about that, Jill, and if I don't know how many of you have seen the Red Letter Media excellent video they did about P. Hard.
Oh, fantastic.
Yes, I watched it like 3 times.
There's a bit in there at the end, this last 10 minutes or so, where Mike, I believe it is, talks about, he does a voiceover. I think he's doing it in the Mr. Plinkett voice, but still, it's so poignant. He talks about how they've created a world that you want to live in. He showed all these wonderful examples of people living in that world in the sense that they make their homes look at it. People get really into the minutia of everything about Star Trek, not just an episode. And he said these people with the horribleness of the filth, who would want to live there? Why would you want to live in that stupid world where that show takes place? Nobody wants to. Star Trek is wonderful and special because it makes you wish you lived in that time. It's wish fulfillment in a lot of ways, and they don't do that anymore. Snail Messiah, thank you so much. With Danish, I think did you say it's called Danish Krona? I believe 20. I guess $20. I think that's what it is. I don't know the actual but I want to thank you so much once again, Snail Messiah. We appreciate you so much. STDS9 remaster in the works at Secret Hideout. Really?
Yes.
Gross.
Yes. We want to live in that world so much that we actually have the Enterprise at the Smithsonian Museum,
Yeah.
and I don't think we'll ever see the pizza cutter there.
No, we better
I love
not.
this comment from Brightest Day because there's a question mark behind P hard. Yeah, we call it P hard exactly for that reason, because as you get older, you have the urinary issues. So that is what we call it on Saturday Night Star Trek.
Well, of course, Picard is an android now.
Even talking about that P hard and getting back to, because I won't call it by its name. I just call it the filth, because I don't like to give it any metrics online. But yeah, just speaking to what Clobby and I were talking about earlier, the distinction between science fiction and science fantasy, right out the gate. No one wants to watch P hard, especially after they see the visual of 126 or 128-year-old man flying through the air in a bomb blast over 100 feet and then just getting up and doing some stairs. So that's not science fiction. For those of you at home who can't make that connection, that's actually not science fiction. That's science fantasy. That is P hard becoming an invincible vampire.
Which is really not him anymore either. So
all those military personnel, military personnel who've witnessed an IED up close like that can tell you with complete certainty that if that ever happened in real life, you would be shredded. That I turned it off. I couldn't watch it after that because my military brothers and sisters out there, shout out to you. Everything that's going on in Afghanistan now. I know how it's tough. It's tough to watch that on TV. And I just to say that because Gene's a veteran too, and shout out to all the veterans out there. It's tough what's going on, but I don't want to bring the chat down, but just as a quick inside, that's obvious that the writers on that show have no background in that kind of military experience.
Well, I would go one step further and say the writers on The Filth are nincompoops. Nincompoops.
Is that a professional determination?
It's a professional. Well, actually, remember Raquel, when I mentioned I had the Star Trek pizza cutter, you got really mad at me, and everyone was like,
I was going to drag you out to the street and have you flogged.
But I'm like, no, wait, it actually is a Star Trek Enterprise pizza cutter from Think Geek, which I do have in my kitchen.
That
and
one is kind of
cool.
Up.
Yeah, so everyone was. I'm like, when you said pizza cutter, that's what comes to my mind. I don't even think of that ship. Well, I guess that's the Ralph McQuarrie design that's been God bless Ralph McQuarrie with the hijacked. That design is actually really cool. I think if it was set in the future, but the rest of the ships are so. Well, I'm not talking about you're right, Raquel. The designs, like the future. I've watched every minute of the show because I'm a optimist at heart, and it just keeps getting crushed. But
no, it's funny because I never really was into the ships in Star Trek until I saw how terrible the new ones look, and they gave me how infinitely beautiful they used to be because they used to make them look like they could be real.
They are the Robin the Lions of Star Trek.
Yeah, then they came up with detached nacelles, and because it improves handling on a starship. And I love the Trek Yards guys. God bless them. They do some great podcasts, but they're with a straight face trying to explain how detached nacelles improve handling on the starship.
Oh my God.
That's absolute nonsense. I mean, if you go to your planetarium, they will teach you. I watched an entire 2-hour presentation where I'm from here in Alberta, where the planetarium they were speaking about, and of course a planetarium means that you have this giant half sphere above you and you're sort of living it in 3D. So yeah, at my planetarium, they openly talk about how this warp drive creating this bubble may be possible. And so, you know, I'm not an astrophysicist and I'm not a physicist. You know, I'm a doctoral prospect, but not that kind of a doctor. And you know, the thing is that once the planetarium explains it to you, you're like, oh my goodness, you mean we could actually do this? You mean
Yes.
people are trying to crack this? Like, you have to understand that even
We
when I
just
did
don't
my
have enough-
master's,
Yeah.
you have to think to yourself, imagine how people thought when they were looking at Kirk using his communicator. It must have seemed preposterous at the time. And yet Cooper goes and he puts the guts in it, and suddenly we have cell phones. So it's very important for folks not to think that magic is the same thing as nearly inconceivable science, because a lot of it has to do with education and a lot of it has to do with intelligence. Imagine how someone's grandma from 2 generations ago would have felt about a microwave. So it's just really important for people to understand that there is a huge difference between science fiction and science fantasy.
And my grandmother did get a microwave, and God, that was amazing to watch her. The old Italian grandmother who lived through the Depression tried to cook a turkey for the first time in the microwave. It didn't go so well.
Brightest day.
But,
Everyone, let me
scientists
thank Brightest
are
Day real
actually-
quick. Thank you.
Okay.
No, go ahead, Jill. I just want to. Every time you see a
They
chat, I like
actually
to get
are
it out
working on the warp theory, but we have no way. We don't have enough antimatter to actually try it. But at this point, it's probably a good idea we don't, because what we would do with it could be kind of dangerous. But
Well,
go
yeah,
ahead
right
and
now.
thank Brightest Day.
Oh, Brightest Day, thank you so much. You're an optimist at heart, Mark. Roll out.
Thank you for that.
Are you? I mean, of course. Thank you. Thank you for that.
If this works.
But yes. I'm sorry about that, Jill. I didn't mean to step on you there. But I always like to, because this chat rolls on me, so I don't want to lose. That's how I miss these things sometimes. Thank you so much for both of those. Brightest Day. It's great remembering Gene. Okay, I got to head out, live long and prosper. Says J Man again. The great J Man had a great time. What the
Sorry.
hell is going on here?
That was me. I was saying roll with the thank you to Brightest Day for that super chat. So that was my optimist figure.
Thank you, J Man, for last night. Thanks, J Man, for last night, buddy.
Thank you so
Appreciate
much
it.
for coming, for supporting the show, and for the great conversation last night, J-Man. Take care and have a good day.
Yeah,
Take
great
care,
show,
buddy.
J-Man, and I'll see you soon.
Take care, J-Man.
Mark, did you say you had some Trek stuff to show us?
Sure. Let me camera here. A
How
couple
about we
of
do a little
things. Yep.
show and tell? Who wants some show? Who's ready for?
Did you dust your phone?
Actually, I gave all these figures a bath beforehand because I knew Raquel would watch it.
You better have, dude.
Yeah, he did it on purpose because he didn't want to get spanked.
I didn't want to get in trouble. Yep. I didn't want to. I didn't want to have to reveal my agonizer. Yep. I didn't want to have to take out the agonizer.
Time for your sponge bath, old man.
Yeah. He was gonna get spanked live on the air. Raquel, is that dust?
Yeah, where's that dust?
Raquel's gonna bust out with her whiteboard and write down what dust does to figures and stuff.
The dust
and,
buster's
point.
not good enough.
Yeah,
Yep.
she's gonna point at the board. Mark, do you know what it does to these things? I'll write it down for you right now. Do you see this?
Let me see a fingerprint.
Before I forget, Steve mentioned Mitch Massive. I'm Italian too. Yeah, my mom's side, they're immigrants from Italy. So yeah, an Italian grandmother who very successfully fed me well.
Steve Mitchell, what's up, bro? Hey, Phoenix Argus, good to see you.
So this is one of my, I think my only Star Trek statue, but one of my favorite statues in my collection. And
Nice.
of course, this is from that fantastic episode.
Yeah.
And, so of course,
Oh yeah.
I think that was the only time the phaser rifle appeared, right? If in the
yes,
was it?
so.
Or was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Use
I love that
pilot,
phase.
yeah.
Where no mansplainer has gone before.
Yeah. Look at the beautiful little tussle of hair that adorns his forehead. Such great detail.
Now, we talked about a lot of Gene's early stuff. while reviewing a great Captain Kirk there. But there's a lot of stuff that how creative he was just amazing. We talked about the Quester tapes, and we talked about his writing for other shows, and but we there's a few shows that happened in the 2000s that started in the late 90s, but that were created from ideas from him too, right? Like in the late 90s, we had Earth Final Conflict. I watched that right from the beginning, and I always loved that one.
Yep.
Andromeda, we mentioned briefly.
Yep.
Andromeda is one of my favorite science fiction shows.
I didn't know.
Both of those are very good.
I actually own several props from the Andromeda TV show, especially season one.
What do you have? What do you have?
I have force lances. I have a couple of tiers outfits, some weapons.
Wow.
No way.
Like credits. I have on and on. I have Rev Bem's holy symbol. I have.
No way.
There's a whole bunch of stuff that I have. Yeah. When PropWorks did their big auction, I was in a big fan of Andromeda. My wife made me put the I have it in a shadow box, my force lance downstairs though. She doesn't want that in the living room.
Wow.
But yeah, I loved Andromeda, and a lot of that too was pushed by his wife, Majel Barrett Roddenberry.
It is. That's true.
And there was a lot of creative ideas that his son also pushed too as he got a little older. I think what we really missed out in later on was oversight of a lot of the shows that are happening now. I don't think that with Gene here or Magil still here, those shows would have ever gotten written like that. There's no way that Discovery and Picard would have ever gone that direction. I think that a lot of what happened here is...
You okay, Thoth?
Yeah.
You there, bud? You was breaking up a little bit there, bud. So you're good now, though, I think.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. I think so.
Oh, okay, good.
Perfect.
I think that what's happened is just politics and a lot of behind-the-scenes work with his son. If Majel Barrett Roddenberry and Gene had been around today, Picard and Discovery would have never gotten written the way they were.
Hell no!
I think we might have had some good stuff after Enterprise, maybe, and I think even Enterprise would have been better with Gene at the helm. Even Voyager, I think. Now, Deep Space Nine, I love it. It's my second favorite Star Trek show of all time. And of course, classic stuff. But I know somebody mentioned earlier, I think it might have been, anyway, it doesn't matter who, but saying that it's the legacy that's important here. And we can go back and watch all of the great old stuff that we can watch. And that includes some of his other shows as well. And just be amazed at how creative he was.
Yeah.
Hey there, Louise X. Barrow. Good to see you.
Yes, nice to see you. Lots of wonderful comments just flying by here in the chat. And I want everyone in the chat to know that although I can't get to all of the comments, we can't get to all of the comments, I want you to know that I'm reading every single one of them. And I just appreciate your company. And I love all your comments and just lighting that chat up and starting these discussions of your own and participating in our discussion. It's just fantastic. My love to you all.
We appreciate you. Absolutely. What's
So
this from, Mark?
This is Spock's World, Diane Duane. So
that's the cover. Okay, yeah, all right.
So
That's actually a pretty good novel.
It's a great novel. Yeah, highly recommend someone reading. Everyone, there's some fantastic Star Trek books out there.
Yeah, remember when Trek books were important?
Yeah, so this was a big deal when this came out. So this was, I remember reading about this, and
the only Star Trek we had for decades.
Out, and so
I don't
Doctor
think my
Who,
hardback
too.
has that cover.
Really?
I have my dust jacket on, but I don't think my hardback has that cover. Hold on for a second. I'll just pull it down from the.
I think there's two different versions of the cover.
Yeah, let me go pull it off my bookshelf. I'll be right back.
And then
This is the one I remember. This is the one I remember.
Yeah, because I googled it. I googled
too.
it to change my avatar, and I think I'd seen a different cover. And then
Nice.
this is at my all time. This is the greatest Star Trek poster ever done. You can
I
come
love
over
it.
and fight me if you want, but
That is beautiful.
let me turn off the turn this off here, the light, so it doesn't.
Yeah, I agree with Mark on this one. That is the one of the best posters ever.
It's not Bob Peak or anyone like that, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
So I have this in a small version. I have it actually, if I scroll up, this is in my, or pan up. Oh, come on. The cable on the is kind of wonky on my camera.
Oh yeah, you got the big one there. Cool.
I got the big one, and I have two of these. I had one in college that was framed, and then it unfortunately the glass got broken, and then it got scratched.
Man. You got the
but
power
I just
record.
love that. I love that poster, and the story behind getting that one was it was in the video store, and I kept bugging the guy. I said, "Hey, when are you gonna give me this poster? Once after they've had it for a few months, they don't need to show it anymore." And of course, they have the power records, and which I
love that power record.
Frame those.
The book and record set. Can you pan down a little bit?
I love that. Neil Adams cover.
Jeez, look at that.
Yeah.
That's a beauty.
Oh yeah!
Shout out to Gold Key Comics. Those are some great stories.
I have Gold Key Comics.
You do. That's right. You do. You have some Trek. You have some Trek comics now.
Yes, for my birthday.
Nice.
My daughter went to a collector and collected literally a box of them from this collector and bought him outright. So
nice.
And this is the number 2 greatest Star Trek poster I think ever, because that's Star Trek: The Motion Picture, which I love. I know you guys love, and that's got McCoy there. Not to knock Ilea, but
love that.
McCoy should have been in the middle. So when I saw that poster, I think about Dynamic Forces. I'm like, and it's signed by the artist. I'm like, I gotta have this. Excuse me.
I agree. The original is a beautiful poster, but in as much as we all love Ilea, it's got to be McCoy. I mean, that's perfect right there.
It's very true.
I love it.
It's going to be a shame when I come to Connecticut that won't be there anymore. But the great thing is that you'll have space on the wall to get another one.
So those are some of the Rathacon movie posters. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get the security camera going. Yeah.
Just tell your wife. Your wife I'm coming to help her.
What happened to your wall?
She won't mind, actually.
She'll help you.
Oh no, she'll say, "Take whatever you want." She'll go, "Hey, go in there and take whatever you want. It'll be out of the,
I know. She'll be like, "Look, Raquel, just take whatever you can carry."
Mark, speaking of being gutted, if you can just swing upwards to the right again, like go back to where you were.
Okay.
Or are you doing it?
No, that's okay. Yeah,
to your left, I guess it would be.
Okay, so go back this way. Yep, because there's a delay on.
Got dark somehow.
Yeah. And there's a scene that you have a picture of up and all the way. I think all the way over to your left.
Oh, there you go. You got the lights.
With everybody holding Kirk back, and when they're holding him before he goes into the.
Yeah. That's on the right. That's on to my right. Yep. Sorry.
To your right. That scene, that whole scene.
Mustang.
It doesn't matter. I've watched that for 1,000 times. And every single time, I can't talk. Like the last time, my wife and I watched Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan for the first time about 2 years ago because she had never seen it, and she's like, she put her hand on me. She said, "Are you okay?" Because I'm like, I'm saying, I don't know. I think I got something in my eye, and that scene, just every single time, no matter that, right into.
I'm not crying. You're crying. Yeah.
Right into the funeral.
Yeah.
When they launch him into space, and Scotty's playing the bagpipes with Amazing Grace.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
Chris.
That was one of the first times I ever cried in the movie theater.
Yeah. If that doesn't get you.
I remember walking out of that theater just crushed. Like absolutely crushed.
And why does that work? Because the characters are so well written and so well loved. The characters are real to you.
Yeah.
When I was watching that in the premiere, which I've talked about before, and it was great to come on the Saturday night show to talk about that. It's just, you were gutted. I mean, it was just because but when in the new movie, which doesn't count, and Kirk dies, you don't care. It's like there's no history, there's no gravitas, there's nothing to it. But this scene. You're right, LT. This gets me every time, and then you just and then you think about your family, your friends you've lost, because it's like losing, a family member. I mean, it sounds kind of trite, but it's just. And
as a veteran, when Scotty says, "He's dead already," and you just go, and it just you stop because it's you're absolutely right, Mark. They were members of our family. For decades, like we would watch them when having dinner or having they were part of us. They were, and that's why we grew so close with them. And when you see something like that, like Spock dying, like who would have ever thought that? We thought they were our superheroes, like Superman, Batman, the Thing, like all these guys. You could never ever imagine them ever dying, and yet this is what happened, and it was just unbelievable. I couldn't believe what I was watching. What do you mean, Scotty? You must be wrong. Bones is there. He'll fix it up. He's got tribbles in the background. He can take their blood and inject Spock with it. Oh no, wait, sorry.
Yes,
right.
I was making fun of it. But
I cried at this scene too.
Barf.
But I can't imagine how many of you guys felt to have actually seen it in real time when it was first released, because I was able to just pop in, search for Spock, and get him back immediately.
I was in denial for 2 years.
Yeah.
That was an upsetting 2 years waiting for Track 3 for me anyway. And
Yeah.
look at that New York Giants defense there, buddy. Wow.
yeah, I was almost a teenager when I saw that in the theaters.
And
I
let's
was
pan over-
18.
Let's pan over to the other scene that LT was talking about, which is then we've got some cells from the Wrath of Khan, and I have that framed. So it's I should
look,
LED
there's the
backlight that.
intercom. I'll take that as well. You can put that in my.
Yeah.
Oh, I bet Mrs. D will be
That's fine.
glad to get rid of that one.
I feel young.
Yeah.
I feel young, yeah. So it's tough to see, and I should backlight the put now LEDs. You can get LEDs, and I should backlight the film. You know, there's actually cells of film there.
That's a nice idea.
Yeah. So you can't, and when you put it up to the light, you can see it.
Yeah,
And then
you
there's
can
actually
see the
Wrath of
cells,
Khan.
yeah.
There's a cell of. Let's see if I grab it off the wall.
What you could do is you could take the back panel off, put a perspex sheet on it, and put like a back box on it. That would work well.
But
I cried
here's
too,
my
Stephen.
thing.
I
Yeah.
definitely cried as well. I was blubbering like a baby, and it stayed with me for over a week. Just very, very sad.
Indeed.
Very, very sad.
I
Trek
felt
fans
like
Go ahead, Jed. Sorry.
Oh, I felt like a member of the family died. I was gutted. I came out of the movie theater, sad face, and everybody was like, people are like, what the hell just happened? Everybody's like, and I was, that was one of the movie theaters I could go to for free. But I actually went with my family, me and my dad. We went to go see it together because my dad's original Trekkie. I'm second generation. He's first. I'm second. We came out of there, and my dad had a long face. I had a long face, and people are like, "What is going on in that movie?" And he's like, because they were watching everybody come out, and it's just like, I can't say. I'm not going to say. Nobody would say anything because they didn't want to ruin it. And they come out because another friend of mine that I went to school with, and his dad, they were Trekkies too. He goes, Jed, what is going on? And he's like, you and your dad both had this. We can't say anything. Just go watch. I don't want to spoil it. Just go watch. Then like I got home. He called me back, like maybe 4 or 5 hours later back at home. Oh my God, that's the reason why you and your dad had that long, sober, like just look on. He's like, yeah. I was like, and like I said, that was one of the first times I've ever cried in a movie theater. My dad even cried. Me and my dad is a dude. I mean, we and him were both crying. Like, and there was like, and I'm not telling you, there was not a dry eye in the house when that scene happened. Everybody in the whole theater was crying.
But there's a lesson. But there's a lesson in the writing, and that's what Star Wars has never had on us, is the writing. You have a man all about loyalty and sacrifice and love, and he knows as he's going down to engineering that it's going to be the end. He knows that, and yet he does it for those 430 other members of that crew. He sacrifices everything for them. And that's all about what we're missing in today's writing and today's it's all about that connection you have with these people, and you can see that, and the sacrifice and the love for his crew. And I just it's one of the greatest written movies of all time. I put it in the top 5 movies of all time, and I know that's coming from a science fiction fan, but
I will say this: I love Star Wars too, but I've never cried over Star Wars. even when Anakin died in Jedi,
Did we
I
lose
was
Jill?
just like, so
Where's
but
Oh, did we lose her?
Hello, Jill.
Well, there's a couple of questions in the chat while we try to get Jill back, but Snort was asking the one with the original cast and the uniforms. I'll post a link. You can still buy that poster on Amazon. It doesn't say the 20 years video cassette, but you can still post it. I'm not sure who the artist is. I'll try to find it and I'll post that. And Canadian Spider is saying, "You have great stuff. I would choose Star Trek over any wife, even Raquel." Yep. LOL.
Even me? Oh, that's good. I'm very proud of you, Steve. I love you very much, Canadian Spider-Man. Steve, listen, hun, I would definitely choose Star Trek over you as well. But I mean, it's close.
Sorry, Steve.
And then, the last thing I have to show is my parents actually went to Vegas on a trade show, and we're very happy to bring this figure back from Arena. So it's all extra special because, like, oh wow, my parents thought of like buying me some more Star Trek stuff. So it's
that's a great scene.
Cool scene. And
you know what's funny? As soon as you showed that, the music started to go in my head. The soundtrack too, right? Oh, the music.
Yeah. And who's this from? If anyone ever, I mean, you can still find these. I'll put the here's the. I think it's applause. See, and it's actually been washed. So it's a little wet now.
Yeah. Well, I still see a speck of dirt, Raquel.
No.
Let's see. I hold it steady. So if anyone wants to try to find this on the eBays, yep. There we go. It's applause.
Nice.
And Snortopoopus, that FOSSA Star Trek role-playing game, I still have all the books and supplements. And several years ago, I guess it'd be 5, 6, 7 years ago, all of my old friends, we played it in the 80s. And I ran that for 11 years, that campaign. And that role-playing game was just amazing. It was easy to learn if you stayed simple. It wasn't like Starfleet Battles where it was like you needed a math degree in order to be able to figure it out. But the FOSSA role-playing game was pretty simple. Percentile dice. You had your stat. You had your whatever happened and whatever the GM described, and you rolled your dice, and it was a lot of fun, and it was very TOS specific. So yeah.
1 second, everyone. Jill, did you say you have to run?
Yes, I've got to go now. And thank you so much for having me to share in the celebration of Star Trek and Gene Roddenberry's 100th birthday. And I'm just so grateful for you, Clobby and Raquel and everybody for bringing us together every Saturday just to talk about every episode and what it means to us. So, thanks.
Jill, we can't tell you how much we appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, and I hope you will return. Anytime. You're always invited. You're open to invite.
Definitely.
Well, thank you very much for that.
Great to meet you, Jill.
I'm just happy to meet you because we've chatted in the chat so many times. It's great to actually get a chance to talk to you. So thank you for being a part of this. You're welcome back anytime, please.
Yes, you're welcome. Thank you.
Take care, Jill.
Thank you for coming on, Jill.
Bye, Jill.
Bye, Jill.
Bye.
Bye. Jill.
Steve Mitchum, yes, let's do that. I will fly out to Vegas. We will drive to Connecticut. We will obtain a very large U-Haul, and we will appeal to Mark's wife, who will open the doors and
What are you kidding? If I heard, take it.
I will crush your palm with silver.
I mean, use your logic as a beating bat.
Phoenix Argus, you are totally right. Phoenix Argus at 43 minutes past the hour says, tour of Raquel's favorite store. Yes, this is Mark D with the C's house for me. She'll empty those shelves. Yes, Phoenix Argus, let's go to Connecticut. Let's clean them out.
Get your shopping trolley ready.
Yeah,
Indeed.
Indeed.
Welcome you guys to take the stuff. You don't even have to pay her.
Welcome.
I know she'll be glad to get that out of the house because I hear her every now and then. Mark, put away your toys. I hear that every now and then.
What I do when we got Steven welcome showing some cool stuff. what I do, I kind of pull things out and put it on shelves, and she's like, God damn it, what's that doing? Get that back in your office. Like I have like little figures I'll put on like our bookshelves, and I'll just see how long it takes her to notice something. She gets
Yeah.
God bless her.
I literally hear Mrs. D, and then I hear Sam.
Yeah.
Sam's like, when are you gonna put that Doctor Who stuff away? He's like, you ain't touching my Doctor Who stuff, woman. And then I hear Mrs. D in the background. Mark, when are you gonna put your toys away?
Mark, does your significant other have anything in there? Like does she have things that she has on display at all?
No, she used to like Peter Rabbit and have like a shelf of like Peter Rabbit stuff, but then I put all like comic book stuff.
No, I don't mean like I don't mean like figurines, but does she have stuff like she has like a living room set up a certain way and all that stuff?
She likes everything very clean and nothing around. So she does have a living room, but it's like empty, and the living room's not supposed to have stuff. But there's some bookshelves in there. Like I put some like you would like it, Stephen. I put some like Funko Pops of the Fantastic Four on the shelf, and to see how long she noticed this.
You know, the way to go was to take all of her cute little Peter Rabbit statues that she previously had, her little figurines, and like put Khan in the middle of them as the leader. Do you know what I mean? You know, like your Khan, or you know the
figurine. You know the bath towels trope. What you just replace the bath towels, but with the same color. Put like the Hydra logo on them. Or Power Rangers. Or one day when she's out, replace the whole bathroom set with like a Hello Kitty bath, like toilet seat cover, toothbrush holder. Like what the hell happened to my bathroom? I don't know. We were attacked by some type of anime sponsor.
Well, thankfully I camp a lot with the Scouts, so I do have a full setup. If she kicks me out, I can go camp in the backyard. But yeah, what I used to do, I bought some Faisalgraph Star Trek China. I think Raymond and Sandra have some of that too. And I put it in our display case with our China, which suspiciously looks kind of like the Star Trek color, which is why I picked it. And so I was like, she's like, get that out of there. That doesn't go with our regular China.
I did want to bring up one thing because I promised. Remember the Optimus Prime I ordered live, right?
Right, we're doing Trek today, dude. So if you do it quick, because this is about Gene Roddenberry today, man.
There you go.
It's Gene Roddenberry's birthday.
This is Gene Roddenberry Prime. How about that?
That's cool. Very cool.
I'm done. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
I don't know what's going on here. I'm just grifting attention. I don't know what the hell's going on here.
No, I mean, I didn't even get to say. I didn't even get to introduce you. I was trying, man.
I am
welcome,
Oprah Winfrey. You get an Enterprise, and you get an Enterprise, and you don't get one. You're just butt ugly. I'll just take your cupcake and go.
By the way, good to see you, Fat Steven. Welcome aboard.
To see you, Lord.
Yeah, welcome.
Happy Canada Day, I think, somewhere.
And a couple of weeks ago.
Oh yes. Sorry, my TARDIS broke down.
It must. No, I was going to make a sexist joke, and then I thought better of it.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Even a beauty.
There's a reason why the TARDIS is broken down. You know that, right? Anyway, it's funny because Steve Mitchum out there, I think he wants an encore, Raquel, because he keeps saying there's 4 Steves now. So
there are 4 Steves in the chat. So they all want the horrible sounding Canadian song. So here we go. These are the Steves I know. These are the Steves I know. These are the Steves I know. These are the Steves I know.
Yeah.
Kids in the hall.
Thank you, Janet.
I thought you were going to go hard. Like, there are 4 Steves. 4 Steves.
They like that Steve song, but who doesn't? Thank you, Jill, for being here, by the way. Really appreciate you. You did wonderfully.
Ooh, Jill.
You did. Great job. And we'll see you on Saturday night.
I sure hope so. Absolutely. And I hope you will come back, Jill. Well, yes, I hope.
Saturday night. I wanted to apologize to the captain and the XO for not being around. I've been on vacation, so my wife and I have been away. And Saturday night it's tough because we were sitting down having, get this, camel for dinner. It was one of our 5-course meals, and I was thinking, I bet you that Clobby and Raquel are just starting to talk about some awesome Star Trek: The Next Generation episodes.
Just as you were tucking into your hump. Just as you were tucking into your hump.
That's right.
Yeah,
I didn't
Wesley in
know
them.
I can't. I just
wait,
can't. I'm
wait.
tapping out of this conversation. You were
He's like,
This
on
this
vacation.
hump, this hump is
And you were
lovely.
sitting down to dine on some camel, and that now I'm tapping out. I'm done. I just,
Well,
I,
he also
I have a
had-
serious question. Hey,
Well, we
He
guys,
also
missed
had-
the week before was kangaroo.
there's two questions. There's two serious questions, though, Thoth, I got to ask. First of all, I didn't know Canada can actually schedule vacations at Walmart. And the second question is, how did you order camel at Walmart?
So it was actually a dinner. We went to a resort, and it was a blind taste test. So there's 5-course meal where every single one is the chef creates it specifically for that meal for that night. So not even the servers know about it beforehand. So that it's wine pairings and everything. It's all about the experience. And yeah, it was overseeing this waterfall, and it was
the camel
not
have
quite the
one-
McDonald's at the Walmart, but close.
Wait. Did the camel have 1 or 2 humps?
2.
right,
I will say
Chris,
this, though.
Poopus. Chris snorted poopus. I'm right there with you. I just can't, and I'm not. It's not gonna happen.
It was a toe above the rest.
But Sir like to choose his wine for his hump now.
I want to cuddle with this. I want to cuddle.
well, next week is chilled monkey brains. So,
Indiana Jones reference.
Salamander on a stick. Welcome
Oh,
to dinner.
Messiah, I love you.
Hi, Nick. Hi, Nick. I loved you topless at the pool. I loved you topless at the pool.
Nick was like, he's like, hey, Nick, I'm just showing everything out.
Nick,
Like,
did you have to run, bro?
Nick would appreciate my culinary choices
thought you
there.
said-
He's a master of the culinary arts.
I don't know. You're the actual master. I'm just the guy who's trying to eat all the fattening foods. Like, okay, this is delicious. I got about 10 more minutes, and then I
Okay.
got to get out of here.
But we haven't got a chance to.
turn my camera on. That's all.
Well, we haven't had a chance to talk to you that much. I'm just going to ask you this. I know you were the one of us here who went to the big Vegas meetup this past week and met so many of our friends and stuff like that. And I just wanted to welcome Ironcaster. I just wanted to see, look, how was that, man? And tell us a little bit about it.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you the very first thing. So
He
when I
got
got
pegged by
before you-
comics.
Before you do that, Apollo's Minion, thank you for that $5 super chat. Here's a bit more coin. I'm heading into an area without service, so I will see you all later. Have a wonderful day. You too, Apollomies and Pupper.
Yeah.
Thank you
And
so much.
Pupper.
Be safe. We love you. Thank you
Yeah.
very
I
much.
love you
Travel
so much.
safely. Our love to Truck Dog. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for supporting the show, and drive safely.
Thank you so much, Apollo. Go
Get
for
a
it, Nick.
swirl.
Go ahead, Nick.
Okay, so I arrived in Vegas. Eric K picks me up. Yeah, right. Eric K, 32 Flares, maybe again. And Eric K, I absolutely love hanging out with you. We have great conversations. We laugh a lot. We enjoy fine, delicious beverages a lot. We enjoy a lot of good food. We even got shades together. Like we got shorts. Like because we did a lot of swimming at the pool and just being toxic males, and it was a great time. But that all said, like he picked me up and then we picked up Comics Division. It was really interesting because I'm in the front seat, a passenger, and Comics gets in the back seat of mine. And Comics starts speaking. It kind of freaks me out because I'm used to hearing him on my headphones, not being the voice that's literally in back of me. So I'm just like, hold on, what are you doing? Like I said, I'm used to hearing him in my ear, so that was like really weird. But after a few minutes, I got used to it. But being in Vegas with all these people who I've talked to online, like some that I was seeing again, like Eric K, Jake D, Matt from Fallball Productions, also listen in the chats, Manowar 665, Neighbor of the Beast. And then we just got to meet everyone else, whether it was Quarter Black Garrett from Crowder, Nerdrotic, Lady Nerdrotic, Jeremy and Ryan from Geeks and Gamers, Drunk 3PO. It was absolutely wild to be amongst all these people. Also meeting other people who had channels too. Stone Loki was there. I met him. The Nerdtorial Life Form. Yeah. The Jack of All Casuals. He's a listener. Brightest Day. Me and Brightest Day. I was just about to say he beat me too. Me, him, Matt, and Jake D we escaped jail together. We did one of those like escape prison room things, and we had a blast. And we destroyed Planet Hollywood, eating all their delicious food, and the daiquiris were absolutely ace. But the meetups were surreal. It didn't feel real at times because it was just such a good time. There was a lot of camaraderie. I met George Molo as well, really nice guy. It was just great to be able to have a moment to talk to each and everyone. Like, it was just, once again, it felt like this is too good to be true, but it really is one of those rare moments where that too good to be true actually was true. And it would have been even more awesome to have, because I know a lot of people were wondering where the Pollys of the world were, or the Purple Valkyries. It's just, or the Azes. There's like these big cardboard cutouts of Az, kind of like, wish you were here type of thing. That there's like 20 of them going around. It's hilarious seeing all the Az ones. And it was also cool. We got to have the Yelling Apart Cars guys, Sir Talks a Lot, of course, comics, Culture Casino. So it was just endless fun. And even when like all the big namers, like they had to go off and do their own things, a lot of the smaller channel people, or even just people who listen to the channels, were all hanging out together. Like Right Stay, me, Matt, I already mentioned Prison Break. I was just trying to hang out and be as social as I can be. And I'm sure many have heard stories and urban legends about my night on Thursday night, which I'll tell you what, man. Charlie Sheen wishes he had the night that I had, because it was absolutely epic behavior on another level that made impressions from Drunk 3PO. It's just like, Nick Weiser is a wild animal. So I was just, yeah.
True, I got the video.
Yeah, it was, it's one of those things where luckily people are like, oh, Nick's got to be like not alive. But then like people see me the next morning, like, how is that man still standing?
Where you have tiger blood, Nick?
I got the tiger blood in me, man. It's just, I'm one of those guys. Like, you can't beat me. Like, you strike me down, I'll come back harder than you can ever imagine. And I did. I swung in, me and Matt, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. We're the last men standing all 3 nights. So
you eat all that healthy cereal.
Yeah, and all that cereal, I'm sure all of us do it. Oh, I had a lot of
Nick,
that Ghostbusters seal. It's the Ghostbusters seal. That helped.
Can I ask a question, Nick?
Yeah.
So the way you're describing is like literally we had the YouTube chat even in real life where everyone was just hanging out and joking. So it literally continued on, and that energy and aura was still there. Mm-hmm. So it shows that even beyond whether or not you carry like even a hashtag or a title, is that friendships can go beyond not only the internet lines but across the world and still be strong. And that's fantastic. And whoever says long-term relationships don't work, they just proved it wrong with Neuroticon. That's fantastic.
Oh, absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned that, Fat Steven, because not a single human being like felt like they were like they didn't know how to speak. I know like my buddy Sir Talks a Lot says he has like anxiety issues, and he may say that, but when he was there, it didn't show, because I was just like, dude, you were feeling nervous there. It didn't show. Like even Matt from Fall Balls was like, dude, you just go up to all the big names and you just go in there acting like you already know them. I'm like, well, that's that's just what heroes do, man. You just go in there, you don't feel nervous, and that's of course that helps having experience. So running into the Johnny Unitas of the world, the Dick Buckuses of the world, the Cannibal Corpses of the world. I've had these encounters with bands.
You met Johnny Unitas? Wow,
I did. Yeah,
dude.
Yeah.
You must have been young, man.
Oh, I was 12 when I met Johnny Unitas. Yeah, he was at a sports convention, and got to meet him and Butkus and talk to both of them. And
oh my goodness,
this is one of those things where it's like I've been around these people, and I've just the best thing is just go in there and just own the conversation. Make it almost like, because people are like, oh, I'm so nervous to meet them. You always gotta think to yourself, what if they're nervous to talk to you? And that could be true, that could not be true. I can't speak on each and every individual, but I just go in there ready to own a conversation and leave a good, memorable impression. And if it gets people talking, saying Nick was a show stealer, that's a big fat bonus. So I cannot wait for another meetup. I want to meet everyone who I met. I want to meet them again. I want to hang out with them. I'm going to try to take another day or two off so I can try like give that extra time with like a jack of all casuals or a Nerporial life form. I want to give that extra time to hang out, whether it's just having a simple drink or doing some fun activity like a jailbreak. I want to enjoy those little things, go ziplining over the sky. I want to do as much as I can with as many people as possible.
Nick, are you
if you come to Canada, I can help you with your jailbreak.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
And
I
Nick,
need a good assist because I'm sure bad decisions will arise.
Nick, are you
Dude.
Nick, are you saying we need a Neuroticon paintball session?
Dude, the
Jeez.
first time I ever used a paint gun, I shot myself when I was in fourth grade.
You're not on my team. You're not on my team, Howard. You're not on my team.
I put it up against my chest, and I had a nice, lovely welt, and yeah. So
Good thing it
but
was set
ever
to
since
stun.
then,
It was set
I
to
look-
stun, Nick, right? Not
He's
kill,
pasty
stun.
though. He's very pasty. I saw the topless shot. It was like, wow.
Did you get to the Star Trek convention, Nick?
No,
That's what I was about to ask you.
was going to go. I was going to go because Eric it was well, and I was just like, then me and Eric were like, nah, we'll just hit up a comic shop. But then we ended up going to a swimming pool with Matt from Foul Ball. We're like, okay, we'll let Comics and Gary go do that convention. They'll be back in like an hour or so. Well, just like them, hour or so turned into several hours later. Before I know, we were enjoying the shade and the pool and those delicious beverages that we're really drinking out of watermelons filled with alcohol in them. Derek's Eric, by the way, having delicious overpriced burgers. Was amazing too. Like it was just like we were having such a good time. Like these moments of time, and I already look back on them. I'm glad I at least got photos of this. I wish I had taken even more, but at least the ones that people took. I'm just like, these are the memories that I'm gonna live with now for the rest of my life. Because this weekend and everyone I met was truly a bar raiser, and I really am antsy to do it all again soon, whenever, wherever, and however.
You're lucky
Well,
I didn't
excellent.
get there, Nick. It would have been hell, raising
That's-
hell even more.
Excellent, Nick. I tell you, dude.
Mhm.
Wish I could have made it. A lot of us wish we could have made it. Hey, look,
Mm.
there's
Paulie.
Tino Slip. Paulie, what's up, buddy? A big congrats on your show yesterday. 6 years, dude. You're the man. I'm proud of you, brother. So good to see you, brother.
And hi, Ironcaster. Hi, how are you?
Yeah, Ironcaster, welcome, buddy. We just to our Gene Roddenberry birthday special, 100 years. We got a little off track there, but we're celebrating, of course, the 100th birthday of Gene Roddenberry. Everyone, the great bird of the galaxy, Archer Jacob Barton. Hello there. Good to see you. Ironcaster, what's up, man?
Oh, it turns out I had my microphone on the wrong setting there, so keep getting noticed. I am doing good.
And the great Raymond Feliciano is here. Hey, buddy.
Hey, Ray.
Hey, Raymond.
Welcome.
Hey, Raymond. Long time no see.
Yeah.
Archer Jacob Barton, good to see you.
Archer.
So, Nick,
Yes, sir.
tell us what did you say you needed to run, man? It's not you would love having you, but
I would love to be here a little longer, but I got some responsible stuff to do around the place soon, and I also got some dad stuff I gotta do in another hour or two as well. But yeah, if duty didn't call, well then I'd be hanging out.
No, we
with
understand,
you.
man.
But
Shout out to Dad Man Walking.
Yeah,
You've been here for 2 hours,
Dad Man
buddy.
Walking. Nah, it's been fun. It's been great as always listening to this Star Trek stuff. It really has me sold on why I need to watch this as soon as I can. We're hoping I could start doing maybe when I come back from Dallas next week. So, anyways, I have a channel, 32 Flavors of Nick Weiser. I've been showing off some sweet, cool toys lately on there. And I've got a few more food videos on the way as well. And Toxic Tuesday, this coming Tuesday night, 5 days from now, we'll be talking the classic action flick Air Force One.
Nice.
That will be, Air Force
Han
One.
Solo.
So yeah,
Get
with
off
Han
my
Solo.
screen.
Nick,
Off
Nick,
my
Nick,
plane.
Nick, have you got your Simpsons machine ordered yet, Nick?
Not yet. I'm hoping that I'm almost done paying off my last credit card, like 80%. I'm trying to make that like a thing to get. If it somehow like runs out, I'll find it on eBay. I don't care. I'm trying to like make it like a goal thing to get, so that way it can feel like a hard-earned victory. But trust me, Retro, it has not been
I
forgotten.
want to see the opening on your channel. I want to see that.
Oh, trust me, it'll be on like Donkey and Diddy Kong, and that's a
Yeah.
promise. It'll be absolutely glorious. But yes, check out my channel. I'm almost hitting at 500 subs. Let's get me there.
Nice.
Yeah, man. Hey,
Everybody
please,
sub to Nick's channel.
please go to Nick's channel and please sub to it if you have not already.
Yeah, so thank you all. It's
Appreciate
been fun. You keep
All right, brother.
keep on
Hey,
trekking. No
hey,
pun
man.
intended.
Hey, man,
Yes,
look,
Bobby.
when are we gonna do that second part of? It's gonna be more of a drudgery
it's
this
gonna
time.
be terrible.
Batman
Yes.
Long Halloween Part 2, buddy. Let me know when you want to do it. I guess I'll go ahead and watch the
We
thing
will
finally.
do it soon. Is it out yet on physical, or do we know? That's
I
that
think the
question.
Blu-ray. I'm about to go try to get the Blu-ray today.
Okay, because if
as
it
soon as
is,
it's
I'll
out
go
there.
get it. I'll go get it today, and I should have an answer to you by early next week. And
Just whenever.
we will make
Just let
that
you know.
time. And we will.
Well, we did part one.
persevere.
We did part 1, so
Yes.
since we went to all that trouble of actually making a part 2, we may as well do it. But
We'll persevere. We got to do it. We started.
buddy.
We got to finish what we started. All right.
Love you, Nick. Bye,
Love
honey.
you. All right.
Take care, buddy.
See you later, brother.
Take care, buddy. Polly, no, I haven't gotten anything yet, but I will check again later. But I haven't seen anything yet, brother. But
So is it
in the
puke
mail.
hard or pee hard? Which is a
It
better
is
one? Pee hard or
definitely
puke
pee
hard?
hard. Turn your head
They
and
all
pee.
work.
Hard.
It's funny. I wanted to comment on that earlier. You're saying that as you get older, you pee hard. Actually, if you can pee hard when you get older, that's a miracle. But usually you have a hard time peeing.
Yes, you have
hard
to
pee.
strain.
Hard pee, not pee hard.
I'll definitely look out for that, brother. Thank you so much, Paul. I appreciate you, bro. I am watching it. So let's see here. Now Ironcaster. I know Raymond is something of a Star Trek fan. Ironcaster, are you a Star Trek fan?
I am. I actually didn't really get into Star Trek until I was watching reruns of it on G4 from about 15 years ago.
Oh, okay.
So I'd say probably around 2005, 2006 when I finally got around to start watching it. After Enterprise had ended.
Okay. Well, excellent,
And,
man. Better late than never, man.
I absolutely love the original series. That is tied for first for me.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Look at the chat. It's 6 minutes after the hour.
Snore.
Nordopoopus, I love you.
Oh God, Star Trek.
Gilbert.
Gilbert.
I'm sorry, I can't help myself snorting. That's such a good one.
Jim, I'm
Sending
not a
you little
proctologist.
kiss bridges.
So Stephen,
I'm
sir.
not a proctologist.
It dribbled, Jim.
Oh my God.
And then you hear Scotty go in the background.
See,
I don't
Raquel
think
has
I
done
can
to
give
us.
it any more, Captain. Like,
Chris Persia. LT should be P. Hardly.
Brightest day. I thought I got to yours. He says, "Do I need to repeat that super chat?" I thought we got both of his, didn't we?
I think he's making a joke about it. I think he's making joking.
I think he
about
is,
it.
but I got to be sure not because we miss him sometimes.
No,
Hey,
you
got me
read
wondering.
it. No, you
he's
read it.
making a joke.
I thought he was, but I
joking
can't be sure with this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's joking. Yeah.
Steven, you there, bro? I don't know where
I think
Steven is.
he had to pop out for a bit, I believe.
Okay, that's fine. I don't even know if he's a Trek fan. I was going to ask him because this is a Trek show today.
He picked one of my favorite female Romulans from as his picture there. So
yeah, you did. Raymond, we started out the show, and I know you were busy. So we started out the show basically talking about our thoughts about Gene Roddenberry. Do you have anything you'd like to say about him on his 100th? On the 100 years ago today was born.
Well, I will definitely say he was a visionary. I started. Yeah, I'm going to date myself, but I started Star Trek when it was first run. The episodes were not in reruns; they were first run network TV. So, and even then, I felt he was a visionary, and he gave us a nice little universe to play in, and it inspired me to where I wanted to go in my life, what I wanted to do, inspired my writing. There is no one like him, and there will be no one like him.
No, never. I mean, amongst the greatest creators in all of television, you have Rod Serling, you have the great Patrick McGoohan, and of course Roddenberry right there on the top. I mean, there are a lot of people who created many great things on television. I put Roddenberry at the very top. To be up there in that rarefied air with Rod Serling,
Yeah.
Someone like that who was also just a genius.
Yep.
And Patrick McGoohan was a genius.
Yes.
And what Roddenberry did, I mean, even tops those guys, in my opinion, and that's that's extraordinary. And
Yes.
Imagine Gene Roddenberry and Patrick McGoohan.
Oh my God!
Yep.
Yeah.
If they met, I mean, I don't know what would happen there if they create together. They're actually. Patrick McGoohan was very religious. Gene was not, but I think they would have got along. Like, who knows what they would have met? And I think Gene is more like, I think he's a lot like Rod Serling in some way, in a sense, as far as a storyteller is concerned. He wants to create, and even though Twilight Zone wasn't always about quote unquote being hopeful, it was it was poignant, and it did. I mean, sure, it scared the hell out of people and stuff like that. But Rod and Serling, there's a Trek quality to Twilight Zone, strange as that may sound sometimes as well, because they were both. Yeah. I think they were similar creators in that respect. Although Twilight Zone would definitely go dark, obviously, and scare you and all stuff like that. It could be positive sometimes as well. I mean, Rod Serling was a master storyteller.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah, love that guy. But Gene's the greatest, of course.
He is.
And you don't think about that is there's no question that there were someone great at that. You can't. It's impossible for one human being to produce any television show or any film or anything like that. So he was also smart enough to bring in the right people. That's another thing people don't give him credit for. He brought in a lot of people. He wrote, as Raquel always talks about, the series Bible and stuff like that. Back then, they had the good sense to bring in science fiction writers. Imagine that, a science fiction show, and you bring in established science fiction writers. In other words, he didn't hire a car mechanic to fix his, when he needed a dentist.
Yeah.
It's so true. He brought in the people with. I mean, yes, some of them had TV experience as well, but they had science fiction writing experience in prose form and things like that. And what Jerome
he used the right tools for the right job.
As Scotty said, that's a good quote, Scotty.
Yep. There you go, Retro. Absolutely, he did that. Absolutely, and he was very clever in getting some amazing people like Dorothy Fontana, Gene L. Kuhn, and Robert Justman, Herbert. I mean, how many? I'm sure I'm leaving some out. Raquel can name others back there that were instrumental.
And that guy that was part of the City on the Edge of Forever.
Raquel's favorite, the bee grabber.
The most important thing about what Clobby, the point that Clobby is raising is just that. Lately I've been trying to turn all of the negative stuff about the filth into a positive by demonstrating that what the fans have struggled to articulate as we have been exposed to the filth. And that is the fact that it's not.
What's that?
I have no idea.
I don't know. Go ahead. Continue.
And it's really about the fact that a lot of people are super angry with traditional or original gangster Star Trek fans. They think that we have all of these cultural and social issues that we take objection to in the filth, and it's really not that. What the truer story that is taking shape is that. It's not that old Trekkies don't like diversity and they don't like all of these things. All that stuff is just social media noise. The bottom line is that you can't change the genre of an IP and not expect the fans to be extremely upset about it. And people aren't professional writers. I have a degree in professional writing, and so I want to make sure that I'm here to be able to help people to express what they're trying to say, because they have their own areas of expertise, and the verbiage, the diction behind writing isn't one of them. And it really is true. There is a distinct difference between science science fiction and science fantasy, and those two groups are very distinct, and a lot of people like both. But the bottom line is you can't fundamentally change an IP and expect the fans not to be upset about it, and that is actually what's going on here.
Yeah.
No,
But that's logical
original
thinking.
Star Trek
That's the problem.
fan would ever be against diversity, telling diverse stories, telling progressive stories, social stories that change and shape culture, and so on and so forth. It's the way in which it is done, and and people should show more respect, more reverence for the IP by allowing it to be what it is. You can't just take something like, imagine taking a Carl Sagan novel and turning it into a romance novel. These things don't work. And so while the fans have struggled to sort of articulate why they don't like this, the flavor of it, the way it feels, the way it sounds, the way it looks, it really boils down to the point that Clobby is making, and that is that we had a beautiful example of science fiction, and we had lots of science fiction people surrounding it, brilliant people. Even the boob grabber is brilliant. And then we have this science fantasy. And the two audiences are very different. You know, when you look at my demographics on my science fiction, do you know that over 400 men have come forward to purchase and to follow and to get involved with my science fiction, and fewer than 100 women. And so, you know, women really, really love science fantasy, and that's okay. And fewer, more rare, do they like science fiction. So it's okay that the distinction exists, and it's okay to come right out and say it. And you know, and I hope that empowers people instead of wagging your finger at people and making trying to make people feel ashamed. Just imagine Carl Sagan's hard science fiction being turned into a romance novel or a sitcom or a cartoon. It's not good, is it, folks?
No, the boob grabber reference, Stephen Thompson is Harlan Ellison. That's a long story.
Not Bill Clinton.
Yeah, that's what I kind of hinted at. I guess maybe I should have followed through on the joke.
I have a question.
That's okay, LT.
I had a question.
Yes.
For Cal. When it comes to the line between the science fiction, fantasy, and the other one, sorry, it slipped my mind because I'm doing two things at once. But do you think that a baseline for whether you're delivering either or with a known property, say as Star Trek, or even let's go like I'm going to make a baseline comparison with He-Man, is that if you can't even display the character's past of what's been given and at least portray that to some time of fault, what you're trying to do now, is it already a failure from the get-go because you're not giving the reality that literally is in between both? The characters have their own reality, they have their own character values, whether it be good, evil, going through their own tribulations and everything. If they can't even respect that as a baseline and deliver it, whether it's be science fiction or science fiction fantasy, is it even the same thing with the same name that they're using all the universe within it?
Well, you raise a good point, and you know, between science fiction and science fantasy, it feels subtle to people who aren't hardcore fans, but there's nothing subtle about it. And I could turn you to something that would be not subtle at all, something as subtle as a train wreck. Look at Gothic fiction or Gothic horror. When we look at Gothic horror and we look at Gothic storytelling, we talk about the macabre, this feeling of that everything is dark and ominous, and something is about to happen. You can almost taste the supernatural in the air. And so people get attracted to that type of storytelling. I am personally very attracted to Gothic storytelling because it is scary without any type of gore. So there's no blood and guts. It's just this supernatural, dark, almost like a fog trickles into the air, and you can see the griffins in your mind and the beautiful, scary architecture. And so that's evocative of Gothic fiction or Gothic horror. And so for me, it's very sad to see people arguing and fighting over Gene's IP, when we know, just like Clubby alluded to, that he had a Bible. He had a show Bible for the production people as well as the cast, so that people could understand that he really wanted science fiction. And although they didn't always hit the mark, he wanted hard science fiction, which means we're imagining humanity grappling with technology and perhaps making a contact with extraterrestrial beings. And so that's what science fiction is about. And it should be respected the same as a comedy or romance or gothic horror. It has a mood. And so when people get into science fiction, the first thing they're thinking of is, oh, imagine if this could happen. And that's what happened for Cooper. Cooper saw that communicator and said, I'm going to put the guts in that. I'm going to make the cell phone. And so it's very inspirational, and it's all science. So if you just turn around and turn it into science fantasy, where you're breaking all those rules, all that aspiration is gone, and now it's just magic, it doesn't feel the same. And the average person out there doesn't have the ability to articulate those feelings in a way that's meaningful. And I just want to make sure that whenever I'm on here, I'm advocating for them, and I'm putting those ideas forward to say, no, these people aren't prejudiced. These people aren't afraid of change. These people don't shy away from diversity. That is ridiculous. No true blue original gangster Star Trek fan would ever be any of those things. They just don't have the vocabulary to express what has happened to their IP, and I want to be that voice for them.
Can I just say
Yes.
can I just say the same thing? What Raphael has just said there. As much as I'm a Star Trek fan, I'm also a Doctor Who fan. What Raquel has just said there also aspires towards Doctor Who fans as well. So thank you very much for that. Well said. Exactly the same principle towards us Whovians as well. The same situation.
Which is why they're both broken right now. Both shows are broken.
Right.
Yeah,
It's not that
exactly.
they're broken. They're
Exactly.
being. It's no longer broken. It's at the form of disrespect and disrespect of not only what has been built for, let's say, 10 to 60 years. It's the fact that you can't even deliver a baseline character format which shows some respect to that. We all were left at the end of a series knowing this or that or how it ended, or we read the books that continuated that story, but the character remained the same. They don't do that anymore. They have turned the characters themselves, their characteristics, their persona, their loves, their deaths into a fantasy. But it's not even a fantasy of respect. It's a fantasy of crap parody. And you know what the problem with that is? They don't even take nods from, let's say, Monty Python, Little Britain, SN, like the SN. What's that one? The SN, the Canadian television one.
SCTV.
SCTV. They don't even. There is no baseline, and then they throw in the tropes underneath where they're like, clean Gene off your boot, or this or that, or the 60 years of what's happened, you're no longer the first Doctor. You have no concept of how far you are supposed to go in a show and how far you're not supposed to take away, because you just don't like criticism. And it's not criticism to hurt you, it's criticism to show, hey, this can be brilliant. It is like it's like raising a flower bed.
This is what happens to us as fans as well. As soon as we mention our interest in the original series, we get called absolutely all sorts of things. We get called out, we get labelled up, and the fact of the matter is that we loved these shows and these programs. These shows and these programs were way ahead of their time, and they already showed us the way forward, that how we should be as human beings.
Retro, did you hear what you just said, though?
Yeah.
These shows were way ahead of their time. And that's where the problem is right there. They're taking the shows that were way ahead of their time and they're putting them in present day rather than looking to the future.
Exactly.
They no longer think about bettering mankind. They're focusing on how mankind gets falling.
Yeah, exactly.
If I may interject just for a sec, gentlemen. Gentlemen, ladies, outstanding conversation. This is what really we need to talk about today, because Gene Roddenberry was an expert in his field at setting aside this Bible with his team. And that's what the old writers of Doctor Who and even, I will give you, RTD, what's come in the new Who. They had a Bible that they had to go by. That's why canon is so important.
Yeah.
And whenever a writer says, "Oh, I'm not going to use canon. I'm throwing it out the window. We're going to do something new. We're going to make all fans happy," it's going to be bad, because what they're doing is they're playing in someone else's sandbox. You have to respect and love that IP. If you don't know what you're doing, if you aren't a fanatical fan of that topic in today's society, when you're looking at these IPs that are 50, 60 years old, then you shouldn't be writing or producing or directing these shows. You've got to know what you're doing. You can't be a 22-year-old writer out of college and be writing for these shows. You need to be a sci-fi fan.
Yeah.
Raquel, brilliant. That's why I love you so much, because what you said is absolutely right. You need to be a science fiction writer to write science fiction. If you want to write drama and crying in hallways and having food at dinner tables, then you do that on Gossip Girls. But if you're going to be writing for Star Trek or Doctor Who or any of the myriad of hundreds of IPs out there that are being destroyed as we speak, I'm looking at you, Lord of the Rings, because I know you're next. You need to love that IP. You need to be a doctorate of Lord of the Rings. You need to be a PhD in Star Trek. You need to know that IP, and that's not what's happening today.
Yeah, and canon isn't a dirty little word. People need to understand that when you have an IP that is going to span 735 iterations, you need to understand that canon is the glue that holds that IP together. And an IP cannot be a comedy. It cannot be a rom-com. It cannot be a science fiction. It cannot be science fantasy. It cannot be gothic horror. It can't be all of these things. That doesn't work. And you have to show discipline towards the show Bible and discipline towards the genre. I'm sure these people feel very indulgent in being able to sort of just do whatever they want with the IP, but it doesn't work. And, some people articulate that as, those old fans are anti-diversity, and that's not true. And some people use this crazy word, woke. None of that is true. It's really, what I have noticed as a social scientist, as a communications and technology scholar, is none of that stuff. I have not seen any racism or people not wanting to embrace diversity or any of these things. These are people who watch Babylon 5 and love Babylon 5, where the main character is a woman who is, as far as I know so far, she's gay, but she might actually be bisexual. And this is in the Ivanova, and this is in the 90s. So none of that stuff is true. And they're using these words because they're codes for trying to communicate their frustration online. And then what ends up happening is academics and other people see this these conversations, and they start saying that those are the basket of deplorables, those are the unpersons, these are the racists, these are the bad, these terrible people. And in my opinion, that's not actually what's happening. What's actually happening is they changed the genre of an IP that was already extremely diverse, extremely progressive, and spat in the face of these people, and now they expect these people to have a scholarly ability to express what was done to their beloved IP. And
Snortopoops had a good comment there, Clobby, if you saw that. I mean, they don't have the imagination to develop their own universe, Snort. You're right. It's all about stealing someone's IP because they come with that fan base already. But if you're going to destroy it, you're going to lose that fan base. You're not gaining a new fan base. And I think that and Steve, you've been doing a great job with your Babylon 5 videos, but that goes to show you what a writer, that's his universe. He has his Bible set. He knows what he's going to do, whether it's 4 years or 5 years or Legend of the Rangers or whatever he's going to do to expand his universe, but it's still his universe to play in. That's why having JMS come to Doctor Who, I think, is a mistake. That's not his universe. You need to have Brits or anybody in the world really, but especially British, because it's part of their culture.
Well-
If they're going to do it, they need to have somebody who is intimate with that IP, just like Star Trek, and that's why
Yeah.
Gene passing it on to Ronald D. Moore, I think, would be a prime person to come back and do a good, real Star Trek show. If you're going to do a dark and gritty one, do a Battlestar Galactica one like he did. He did a great job with the new reboot of Battlestar Galactica, and I think that he's got pedigree in Star Trek. He can bring in a team that's a great Star Trek crew. You can get some of the old guard in. There's a couple that are still left alive from those original shows, especially at TNG, that you can maybe bring back, and you could do another show where you can show that hope for the future, and that future that we all want to believe is out there.
You two bring up two good points.
It all boils down to getting back to Clobby's point, and that is that Gene was not only a genius producer and writer. It was the fact that Gene knew how to cultivate a writer's room of people who were genre specific. And that stands out to me as possibly the most important point made today in celebrating what would have been his 100th birthday, is you need to have one vision, a single vision. Otherwise, the story doesn't work. And then to have people come in and inspire one another and work together towards that single vision in that single genre works. You look at The Filth today, it's a comedy, it's a romance, it's a soap opera, it's a fantasy, it's got a little bit of science, it's got all this crap. And what ends up happening is it's a din of nothingness. It's a cacophony of crap. It's just a poopy diaper of filth, and it's not anything that anyone can gravitate towards or identify with.
May I add something before I go? Sorry.
Go ahead, Stephen. Yep.
I wanted to add one thing. Like when Raquel, you were right, because you were bringing up the whole thing about the diversity and all that stuff. There, it was there. The main pretense I've learned from Star Trek, whether any of the series, is that they were out there for one thing: exploration, to meet new races. They were coming with open arms, open minds, and open eyes to greet new races that they have not met, new civilizations they haven't met. And that in itself is not any type of meanness. You're trying to understand another culture, another planet. And that in itself covers all of that checklist without having it to shove down someone's throat. It wasn't a fantasy. It was the genius of making you think that something somewhere out there is something, someone's that could open your mind to the next level of how the universe works.
Being better.
Yes, aspiring to be a better version of yourself tomorrow than you are today, collectively and individually.
But not doing it, like not being lectured to do it. Actually doing it. You don't have to say be better. No, just be better. Like,
better.
You can do it in the writing. You don't need to be lectured about it.
Because didacticism doesn't work, because what didacticism does is didacticism takes a moral or a value or an ethic, and it says unequivocally, either you do this or you're trash. And it does it while waving a finger. It's very melodramatic. And we talk a lot about it in writing, where, you can actually take writing classes where they tell you to avoid didacticism, never mind hyperdidacticism. So it's actually something that is a part of writing craft. And you'll even have editors that specialize in helping you to get away from it. It's almost tantamount to what you would see in journalism or with purple prose. It's something that you try to avoid, and yet in The Filth we see them embracing it. And old Star Trek, the actual science fiction, challenged us. Instead of taking out the large Marge sledgehammer and bashing people over the head with it, what it did is it actually created almost like the Socratic dialectic. What it did is it gave people a whole bunch of information, and then it allowed them to weigh it on their own conscience, the things they think, the way they interact with life, the evidence. It showed them all of the evidence, and then it called upon them to be a judge. And what ended up happening is it appealed to our better angels. It appealed to our better natures, and it made us better people.
That's why Gene is a genius. That's why Gene is a genius. And he grabbed a bunch of excellent writers around him as his staff that could keep him in line. And that's why season 1 and in season 2 is so frigging awesome. I think that what happened in season 3 is got a little off track because then his ego got in charge, right? And he alienated a lot of his team. But
Well, that's
that
not what
first
happened,
year,
though, LT. That's
well,
not what happened in season 3. In season 3, we were on our
we had the
fourth.
network and stuff too.
Yes, we were on our 4th corporation that owned it. And they literally came in and said, look, you're doing this our way. And Gene and DC Fontana actually walked off. So by this, they were almost not talking by the 2nd episode of the 3rd season.
That's why I meant ego got in the way. That's what I meant.
They walked off the set. And they just said, look, you guys want to do corporate Star Trek? You guys are all on your own. Have
and they
a
should
good
walk
time.
off the set. I agree with their
did.
decision. Yeah.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is those first 2 seasons are almost perfect because he was a genius at coming up with these ideas, and his team were also geniuses because of their experience in the genre. And that's what we're losing today.
I agree.
One thing I wanted to add too was one of the few people maybe that's watched every minute of the new junk. It's written basically like fan fiction. So Raquel, agree 100% what you're saying, where they're congratulating each other and they're saying, "Oh, how great you are," and "Oh, this is so fantastic."
Self-inserting.
And it's bad fan fiction. I've read fan fiction that's written much better, so I don't want to impugn fan fiction. But it's I
love
should
you, Mark.
put
I love that. I love that. That's funny.
And I'm a scout leader, so one thing I teach kids, that one of the things they're trying to show is Tilly, becoming a leader, and she's maybe even worse than Wesley. I don't know if I should go there, but what I tell scouts is, especially as young kids trying to learn to lead other young kids, how can I get the kids to listen to me or follow me? And I said, well, you've got to first lead by example. You've got to do the right thing, and say something simple like collecting firewood. No one's collecting firewood. You go out there and you do it too. You just can't yell at people to do it. So it's the characters are written so unrealistically on that new show where they're just saying, "Oh, you're so great." Imagine telling the scouts, "Oh, you're so fantastic at collecting firewood. Who's going to go collect the firewood?" Well, you got to tell them you're not going to be eating dinner tonight unless you collect the firewood. And oh, by the way, I'm your leader. I'm going to show you how I do it. So it's just so depressing. It's and the stories are bad too. So I always like to go back to hey, let's celebrate what's great about Trek and why we like it so much and what inspires us. I think I've heard that word a lot of times today, inspiring. So Star Trek inspires you to do better, and that's one thing we try to do, and tie it into Scouts a little bit is you inspire the kids to be better and to do some good things and community service, but not by lecturing them and saying hey, you've got to do it, but showing them how it affects people, like we did a food drive, and you see how it helped people that a lot of people are hurting out there, and that's I never talk about Star Trek with the Scouts directly, but in the back of my mind I'm thinking about that sometimes in terms of that's how the world's a better place by it might sound corny, but by helping people, by doing some good deeds or nice things, and that's evidence, I think, why in the background of everyone's mind, that's why you like and appreciate Star Trek, because you hope that the world is going to be like that, and then there are great people out there that do nice things. So
I mean I'm sorry me jumping in here, but the analogy I like, I've always liked the analogy: a child is not a vase to be filled, but a fire to be kindled, and that's what I liken Gene Roddenberry to, because that's exactly what he does. He doesn't dictate to you, this is how you must think. Fill it up, put some more water in a jar. But he goes away and he ignites that little flame, and you then go away, and then you then think about it. It then opens your mind up, and you then expand upon that, and then you grow from that. This is what makes human beings a wonderful creation. This is what we must remember, and this is what Gene Roddenberry taught us all. And
we think we might be right, but maybe we're wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Mark, you hit it right on the head when you said, and Retro, you're saying the exact same thing here, is in order to be a good leader, you must first become a good follower. Having this whole character arc for Michelle Burnham has just been a train wreck, as Raquel would call it. It's been awful because she's perfect right off the bat in the first episode. She screws up.
Yeah.
She goes to the stockade, and what do? They give her back her command, and let me tell you, from a military perspective, one, we don't hug each other in the hallways. If someone come up and hugged me, that would be I'd be putting them on charges for sexual assault. Like there's no hugging or kissing or crying. If I was in the field and my sergeant major saw me crying, he'd be like, anyway, there'd be a lot of 4-letter words used. Let me tell you that, and a smack on the back of the head.
There's no crying in baseball.
There's
but
no
apparently
crying in the military either. And so I think, Mark, you're right. It's all about leadership. It's all about how we develop our youth and how we move on with the story. And we tell a good story. We don't make it a lecture. That's what a good teacher does. And Raquel, you could probably chime in too. Is if you're a good teacher, if you're a professor, the best way to teach someone is to show them the way. You don't lecture them and say, this is how it is. You say, look, you provide the facts, you provide the story, and you let people come in. Gene Roddenberry was brilliant because he did diversity without beating you over the head with it.
Yeah.
There's a black officer on the bridge, and she's a woman. There's a nurse who's probably the second most brilliant doctor on the Enterprise, even though she's just a nurse. There's an Asian helmsman. There's a Russian. There's an alien. And so you've got all of this diversity right there, but at any point in time, ladies and gentlemen, did you ever see that in watching a classic episode where you distinguished amongst them? No, they were all part of a team, and that's what it's all about. It's not saying, hey, I'm gay, and then in 15 minutes later, hey, I'm gay again. And like if you're into that, that's cool. Like it's all about telling a good story. It's not about
well, there are limits, LT. There are limits, and some people would say that what you just said is hate speech, and I would challenge that because there are limits. When you're in a professional environment and you're always discussing your sexuality, no matter what your sexuality is, that can be quite imposing. Because eventually you're going to have to get down to the work of the day, instead of focusing on expressing your sexuality and how you prefer intercourse. So there are limits. And as far as,
in a professional environment, though, you'd be brought up on charges if you discuss your sexuality in public.
Well, this is exactly it. And, as far as in a teaching environment, my philosophy has always been the Socratic dialectic, which is to never tell people what to think, but to show people how to think.
Yes.
And how to think means teaching people critical thinking so that they are able to do what Socrates wanted us to do, which is the Socratic dialectic. That is taking all different bits and bytes and pieces of facts and opinions and knowledge, and then testing what is true by asking questions. And so didacticism is the polar opposite of what I believe is the ideal, which is the Socratic dialectic. That is providing information, thinking critically about it, and asking what is true by engaging lots of different voices and lots of different opinions and fact. And so, resoundingly, I believe, in a nutshell, that the older fans are not buying this, you are the basket of deplorables, you are the unperson, because they know what is inside of their hearts. And they've changed the genre of the IP. They've turned it into a mess of genres that make no sense. They've fundamentally changed the IP, and they've done it through didacticism. And any professional editor will tell you that that's something you should avoid. It shouldn't be your mantra, for goodness sake.
Truth.
Well,
thank you to Max Redstone for the $2 super chat. Thank you so much. I won't follow Michael Burnham into my house. No, good. Don't.
Max, I wouldn't follow Michael Burnham out of my house if it was burning.
Well, one thing that compare how Michael Burnham, when she tries to start a war and start a war with the Klingons and has a mutiny, but compare that how Spock is handled in that classic episode, the Menagerie, where what he's doing is really trying to save Pike from a lifetime of suffering, and it's the humanity of Spock, and he knows he's sacrificing himself, but it's not over hubris, and it's maybe he's breaking the law. So I've heard people argue, well, Spock, took over the ship and caused the mutiny, but he wasn't starting an interstellar war. And Spock would have probably listened to his captain at that point. But it just that's why it's so touching too when you see that. And people are asking about what's Strange New Worlds, and Stephen Thompson's asking in the chat, do you have any hope? And as I've been called an Optimus Prime today, I guess I have a very slim figure of hope on the show. I don't think it'll be good, but there's always you can hope. But that's will we get to see Spock and Pike well done again? Probably not, because Leonard Nimoy owns that role. But it'd be one thing if it was, like you were saying before, Clobberin Times, like we've got some bad episodes of Star Trek, but it's still Star Trek.
This ain't Trek, so I don't care what you do with it. I don't give a crap. Anson Mount's a fine actor. Jeffrey Hunter's Pike, end of story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and that raises another point that I think that they don't seem to understand, and that is that when you have somebody like Gene Roddenberry who starts this whole thing with character and concept are everything to this human being, and it's what endears us. He moves the furniture of the mind. He writes the story on our hearts, on our mind's eye, and then they turn around and they try and turn these extraordinary entities, these beings, these are almost people that we can reach out and touch, and they turn them into a suit. They turn them into a mantle that can be worn by anyone. It's just I don't understand why they cannot connect to the fact that a lot of people will reject that. People don't want to turn Spock into a suit.
No.
People don't want to turn Pike into a suit. It's not a suit. For us, the writing used to have so much the writing used to be so good that we could almost imagine these people as real people. They've endeared
the writing used to have so much discipline. This is a quasi-military organization. We keep forgetting. They need a military advisor on this crew because, who was it in the chat? Just said it 2 seconds ago. Snail Messiah, you are absolutely right. Tilly's actions, Burnham's actions, heck, every single member of that crew has done something in the last couple of seasons that are court-martial offenses. Like these are things where you rely on these people to watch your back. It's a life and death situation. Kirk, screwing with the Prime Directive a little bit, that's one thing. But when the chips are down and you got to send your red shirts in to die for you, you have to be prepared to make that command and be ready to sacrifice yourself like Spock did. That's why Gene Roddenberry was part of that team where he could use his military experience to say, you know what, I was a pilot during World War II. I flew into action where I more than likely was going to die. And I had to order men under my command as a lieutenant and as a pilot, as an officer. And that's a sad event, and they're getting into this huggy feely everybody gets a trophy generation, and there's a problem with that kind of writing in a quasi-military organization when you have to sacrifice yourself and your ship and your crew to save the Federation, to save millions, billions, and trillions of lives. That's why Deep Space Nine was such a great story arc. It was a dark story arc in a hope-filled universe where if the Federation's light goes out, the Dominion takes control, and then it's Germany. The Germany of 1940s would take over the world, and that's the analogy. You don't want the Dominion taking over and snuffing the light out. And so you had the light, the hope, the loyalty, the sacrifice of the Federation and Starfleet during the DS9 war with the Dominion to what are you doing with the Klingons when it just made no sense. That whole story arc in Discovery made no sense. So that's the writing and brilliance of the writers that are Gene and Gene's proteges.
And there's no substitute for it. Like when I see the younger fans talking online about red shirts, for most of us from the TOS generation who grew up with TOS, the red shirt is something that we sort of, laugh about, but not really. And it's sort of like there is this understanding, especially through multiple episodes, that it must be terrible to be a red shirt. And we see this, Gene Roddenberry made a point of it when Denise Crosby left, wanting her killed in such a shocking way, where there was no recourse. There was no big buildup. There was no, huge farewell. She was killed like a police officer or killed like a someone in the military.
Death
And
makes no sense in war. Yep.
So the thing exactly. And the thing that I find very troubling is that the new fans, because they've not watched it and they don't fully understand it, they're always using the red shirt trope and talking about it, and they laugh hysterically about it. They think that it's super funny, and that was sort of like this dark humor that the original series people had, but we knew its place. Nowadays, they think that the red shirt thing is like, it's hysterical, like it's a comedy bit, like it's a comedy skit, and for me, it's like the entire point of it goes over their heads. They don't understand what it's like to be a red shirt, and that was our dark humor, that gallows humor that's sort of scary. It's not like a point of like, let's make a cartoon about it and let's make this the main joke now. Like, geez, like go back and watch TOS. What's wrong with you? You need a slap. Come here, let me slap you. Or kick you at least really hard in the shin.
I hate when
Kick it in the groin.
That's a perfect segue time to probably my favorite episode, which is the Galileo 7, which is a brilliant character study of Spock. And of course, he sends red shirts to die, and he can't understand. Logically, he's making every decision correctly.
They weren't wearing red shirts, but yeah.
Yeah, but he's sending people. I know, yeah. People. I've only seen it a few times. Yeah, he's sending people, officers under his command, and then they end up getting killed, and he can't understand why. Why that's happening. I've logically, these beings are not acting logically. Why aren't they acting that way?
Yeah.
And then he gradually at the end, he his humanity, I think, shines through when Scotty says to him, obviously paraphrasing, Mr. Spock, you showed, you took a chance, you took a risk, you took a gamble. How human of you. And that's why I think why Kirk is such a good commander, because he's so smart, but he's got that humanity. But I just love that episode, how it shows every step of the way Spock is trying to work through, what to do in command. And how, and that's why another example of how well written the characters are. And then the officers can't understand, why won't Spock, bury the, crew member who's died. He said, well, it's, that's a risk. But eventually then Spock says, you go ahead, I'm going to help bury this crew member. So it's just such a touching, evolution, and just in 44 minutes or however long the episode is, you get to learn so much about Spock and the crew and his motivations.
And everyone in that shuttlecraft was ready to give their life if he was not buried.
Yep.
That is the true story of the red shirt. And so when people hear us talking about the red shirt at the con and we're TOSers, that is gallows humor. So it should be conveyed darkly and quite scary, and sort of like, wow, those are the true consequences of life. That's how TOSers view red shirt, folks. The way that Mark just explained it. Everyone on that shuttlecraft was going to die if that crew member wasn't buried. They said, no, we're going out there, we're burying them anyway. It's not a comedy skit for a cartoon for kids to watch.
Yeah, it's not Laura. And by the way, one of the actors, which I didn't need to mention, was actually an African American, Lieutenant Bulma.
Yeah.
But that there's quote unquote, I hate using the word diversity, but you had the crew, and he was a smart character.
Organic.
Yeah, it's just part of exactly. Clobberin does. It's organic. It was just. It wasn't one of the. There was no argument over. I'm an African American. You're a Vulcan. I'm not listening to you. There was a logical argument and a heartfelt argument between the two of them.
Yeah.
Well, think about that. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I am not an expert, so please forgive me on this. But for me, the Trinity represented strength, humanity, and intelligence. That's what you got from the Trinity.
Yeah, ethos, pathos, and logos.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What were you going to say, Clobby? Go ahead, Clobby.
Oh no, I was going to say, in terms of this diversity, this was at a time. It's funny how today we have it organically, yet they make it look so false and phony and forced, idiotic. Whereas it's the reverse in Roddenberry's time, when he did have to work and really had to stretch to make that diversity happen on his show, and yet from behind the scenes and on the show you watch it and it's organic, and that's because nobody's standing up with a neon sign saying, "Look at me, I'm black and I'm on the bridge. Look at me, I'm again." Fill in the blank, whichever quote unquote minority at the time. And that was at a time when it was important that he had to work to make diversity, to make his point that we will have a time when no one cares what color anyone is. No one cares about where anyone is from. They just work together. We're beings. We're intelligent beings. There's so much more to us than what's on our physical appearance and what is our race or creed or any of that sort of thing. And that was at a time that Roddenberry had to work to make that happen, and yet on the screen you don't even think about it because it is so organic. And now we've regressed to the completely other end of the spectrum, where it's really easy now. You don't have to pat yourself on the back and show everyone there's this term called virtue signaling, which is what these people are all about now in Hollywood. Look at us, look how diverse we are and stuff. Roddenberry didn't have to do that. And yet he had to work to make it happen.
He had to fight for it. With Nichelle Nichols being fourth in charge, even having a woman, never mind an African-American woman on the bridge, and being fourth in charge and being the head of the entire communications and technology department. He was told specifically that they were advising him against that they didn't want him to do it, that they were afraid that people would refuse to air the episodes, that they would refuse to air the show. It's one of the reasons why they didn't want the original pilot, because they didn't want a woman second in charge. They didn't want a woman as first officer. And you are correct, Clobby. He had to fight for that. Nobody is fighting for that today. And that's why what he did reads as real cultural transformation, real enlightened witness, and sincere contributions to the betterment of society. Whereas what's happening today is very clearly corporate marketing. It's insincere. It makes everyone feel like they want to take a shower.
And I think that Uhura should have been the commander of the Excelsior, not Sulu. She was senior to him, in my opinion. I thought the first season especially, that it was Kirk, Spock, Scotty, Uhura, Sulu were the top 5 command officers. And even though Sulu was command track, I think that's silly. I think that she wore gold early on in her career on Star Trek. Yep. It's too bad that she switched. Obviously, she had to switch to the communications red and the engineering side of things. But I always saw her as more senior and actually more logical and a better commander than Sulu. If you go by, especially those first probably 10 episodes. Mark D, that's an outstanding episode. Clobby, that's like a top 10er, right?
Which one?
The Galileo 7.
LT.
That
LT McScrooge.
I love it.
I think I gave it a B+. I believe I gave that one a B+.
Oh my God,
plus,
you are
the hard.
you're not, man. That's too low.
Only a B+.
I gotta throw a flag on you on that one. Man.
That's a yellow card, eh? Not a red card or a yellow card? Is it? But I will have to say,
man.
The last 15 minutes of that episode are among the best, most tense, stressful 15 minutes of any television show, science fiction or otherwise, of all time, because these are your family members. They're the members of your team, your crew that are dying, that are like the Enterprise is leaving. They can't see you, they can't find you, and you're sitting there and you're going to burn up in a horrible death. And yet Spock does the most human thing ever, and that is such a military decision to make. Do you sacrifice the short term versus the long term? The shot, you take a shot in the dark, or do you end up dying and know that nothing's going to happen? That's the way you're going to die. And another thing too in that episode, one of the things that I love about it is leave no man or woman behind, and that includes your dead. You bring your dead home. You have to patriate them, and in this case, the only way that they could do that would be to bury them and give them the proper rites and send off into whatever afterlives they believe in. And that was what was so important to the crew. And Spock said, you know what, you do that. And he was a good commander. He said, you do that. I'm going to try to get us out of here. And that's what a commander has to do. He has to sacrifice his own feelings for the betterment of the team. That's why it's so well written. And that's why these episodes, you go back and you look at them, especially in the first 2 seasons, you go, like, I look at the Doomsday Machine, and that was an incredible episode because it dealt with PTSD, and that's what we're dealing with today. We look at the Commodore and what he went through. He sacrificed his whole crew thinking that he was going to sacrifice his life to save them, and what happens? The opposite. That affects you like instantly. And that episode is a perfect example of what happens to a commander when he loses his troops. You send your troops out on a mission and they get hit by IED or they get ambushed or whatever happens, and you lose men and women, and it's heart-wrenching. It actually hurts. And when you have your partner, when they go out there and they jump in front of a bullet or they take a knife for you or any of that, and that's what this is all about. And I think that a lot of that storyline is left behind when it's all about me and how I feel and how you know what, it's not about your feelings, it's about you bearing your feelings to do your job. And in that case, it means lives, and if lives are saved because you sacrifice your own to save them, that's the point. But if you survive, that's even better. And that's why Gene was such a great team leader in that group.
Yes.
Excellent comments, LT. I just want to excuse myself here. I apologize for interrupting, but before we move on, there's a couple of things going on in the chat that I would like to address. One is Darius Munchausen. Darius, the Doomsday Machine. You know, you and I, you're always teasing me, oh, Raquel, I haven't watched the Doomsday Machine. Oh, Raquel, I haven't watched the Doomsday Machine. Okay,
Really?
so you just heard LT give you a total reason to watch the Doomsday Machine.
Yeah.
Also, we have a question from Stephen Thompson. Yes, Stephen Thompson, you will see a lot of stuff through user-generated content, so what we call fan lore. These are factoids. They're not facts. They're just accumulations within the fan base, and then they've been created digitally in user-generated content, including Memory Alpha and other places in IMDb. A lot of it is incorrect. You should know 100% that I have absolutely researched it over the course of 4 shows and absolutely 100% confirmed it through print and through his actual words. Uhura was 4th in command and was department head. So when you think about it, I want you to think of Kirk as command. I want you to think of Spock as science. I want you to think of Scotty as engineering. And Uhura, who was 4th in charge, was the communications and technology department. So
and McCoy is medical, obviously.
Yes, but we're talking about the chain of command. So it's Kirk, Spock, Scotty, Uhura. Uhura was 4th in command and of communications and technology, which means she was capable of rewiring the entire bridge. So she was an astronaut, a communications person. So you have to think about someone who would work in aviation, trying to land planes and so on and so forth. And then technology, an astronaut who could completely rewire the bridge. In several meetings, which we covered on Saturday Night Star Trek, Gene was attacked and had major storming out of the room, slamming doors, arguments in keeping Uhura in that position. Many casual fans are not aware she was a department head, astronaut, communications and technology department head, 4th in command. That is an actual fact.
There you go. That's why I love her. She's one of my favorite characters from the show, way over Sulu and Chekhov.
And wasn't as Raquel was saying, and Mike and Clobberin times have said, yeah, it wasn't easy back then. You know, it's a new world right now, and we're living that in many ways. And the future of Star Trek. You know, when I was born, it was in the middle of the civil rights movement. But how groundbreaking that was. And growing up as a kid, I didn't really even think anything about it, that there was a black woman in command on position of command on the bridge. And I kind of think of my generation almost hopefully growing up with moving towards the end of racism, and that's part of that, I think, is just she's on the bridge, and it was never a big deal was never made about her being on the bridge, but it was a big deal that she was there. If that analogy makes
It's why I am
makes
who I
sense, yeah.
am, Mark D. With
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
my friend in real life, and you know what my parchments are. You know we're friends on LinkedIn. You've seen
Yep.
all of my credentials. You know my entire academic and professional history, and that is exactly how I felt. My wonderful friend. When I looked at her, I knew that it was normal. It was normal. I could be an astronaut. I could be a communications and technology scholar. I could be a department head. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And it's very important for the new fans to realize that this is not Hoshi Sato. She's not a linguist. That's not what's happening here.
Exactly.
And
She's an
folks need to
engineer.
understand. Yes, exactly. And it's very important because this is a woman who inspired me to be who I am today, to have the parchments that I have, and to do the kind of work that I do. I adore her.
We need to support her as well.
Yes,
Yeah, she's
yes,
supposed to.
RD.
Yes.
We need to
Go ahead and
support
mention
her.
that. Tell her
Shout out to
tell
Michelle.
us what's going on
Shout out
with
to
Michelle
Michelle.
Nichols. Retro, go ahead and you can mention that while we're doing this because she's a big part of this.
I'm sure probably a lot of you are already aware about the conservatorship that's going on with Michelle Nichols. There's a battle going on. I think we as fans need to rally around her and make sure she gets the best treatment that she deserves. I can't comment because I'm not over there. I don't know the ins and outs of it all, but I have cottoned on to a few things in the news and the media. Nichelle needs our help, so call to arms. Everybody, all the fans, rally round and make sure Nichelle gets the best help that she requires because she needs it. So I'm calling all of you fans out there, stand up, shout out for Nichelle.
Yes.
She needs this now. So you make sure she gets what she did, because what she did, what she brought forward to this wonderful, wonderful program because of Jean, we need to stand up and fight for her. This is what we need to do as fans. So I'm calling all of you, shout out for her. Shout out to her.
What a beautiful thing to say. And you can do that, folks, on Twitter. But guess where she's super active? She is super active on Instagram. And they are actively posting stuff on Instagram about this conservatorship, about all this stuff that's going on. Nichelle Nichols, this call to arms that RD this is one of the best things that RD has ever said on the Global Geek Gang. What a beautiful, amazing thing to say. Yes,
Indeed.
This is a call to arms. Get your butts to her Facebook, get your butts to her Instagram, get your butts to her Twitter, shout her out at her, show her the support that she needs. Beautiful human being.
Show
Absolutely.
what she inspired. Show what she inspired. What she did. What she did for us as fans.
I can tell a little story about Nichelle, if I may, just because this is kind of case in point of what you're saying, Retro and Raquel. And my wife is also a communications professional. She's a AVP in charge of communications and public relations for a major international insurance company. She does communications for a living as well. And a couple of years ago, she was in Ottawa, and the one time my wife and I went to a convention together because my wife wanted to go, and so we did, and we were wearing our Star Trek uniforms and everything because I bought one for the occasion, and my wife got to wear some cool boots and the blue science uniform, and she loved it. And so we went up, and one of the things, one of the people present was Nichelle Nichols, and Jonathan Frakes and Marina Sirtis were there as well. But that was the highlight of the whole thing for me, was getting to meet Nichelle Nichols, obviously. And we walked up, and I said that, what a huge fan I was and what I did for a living and stuff like that. She said, "Oh, that's fine. And what does your wife do?" And then for the next 15 minutes, she talked to my wife because that's all they talked about. And my wife is also diverse. So they had this really interesting conversation, and it was just on and on and on. And I'm sitting there just loving it because you know what? I like to talk. I'm sorry. I apologize to everybody whenever I interrupt you. But she and my wife just had the most amazing conversation, and she was so giving and soft spoken. And nice and friendly and just so giving and warm, and I said that she was an inspiration for everybody, and my wife said the exact same thing, and that's what's so impressive about her, and it makes me sad to see what's going on in her life. And I mean, she's getting older, and the body doesn't work quite the well as it used to be, and family can be very monetarily driven, and there's a lot of sadness that goes on behind the scenes in families, and I just want everybody out there to support her 150%, and because she is such an unbelievable, amazing woman. She was late she was 30 minutes late, and all she did for like 10 minutes and 15 minutes was, I am so sorry, I'm so sorry. And but that's the drive in Ottawa from the airport to the convention center. And it wasn't her fault at all, but it was all her fault, she thought. And I'm sitting there going, wow, what an amazing woman. So I can say, and there's this whole big crowd behind me going, come on, like move on. But she just, it was just amazing. So thank you everybody out there for supporting such a wonderful woman.
What a beautiful story. Can I please ask that we could highlight two comments in the live chat? One is from our wonderful Eric K. Eric, I love you so much. At 3 minutes after the hour, Eric says, remember when Spock said to her, rewiring the panel, I can think of no more capable hands. Yes, indeed, Eric. These were the conversations that sparked a lot of rage behind the scenes. They did not want a woman doing this, and they definitely didn't want an African-American woman doing this. Jean had to fight for it. And then we have our marvelous Max Redstone, who has returned to the chat. He had to leave for a while. At 5 minutes past the hour, he says, Nichelle Nichols was thinking of quitting the show. She was. She wasn't sure what to do. And she's also a very capable singer. So I think she wasn't sure what she was going to do. And Martin Luther King Jr. talked to her about it. He did. This is a fact, not a factoid. They met, and he said, look, my children watched this show. You are transforming society and culture. Millions of little girls and African Americans are in awe of you. And, the fact that all of this is normalized, there's nothing to discuss. You're just in charge. You're an astronaut. And he convinced her to not quit the show. That Max Redstone is fact, not a factoid. And I love that you added that. And I also love that Eric K brought up the one of the specific episodes where that knockdown drag-out fight happened. Who was going to be in charge on the bridge?
And again, all that speaks to the greatness of Gene Roddenberry, whom we're celebrating today, because none of it happens without him, folks. None of that. Again, all this phony, fake, regressive, so-called diversity that you guys, the Klutzmans of the world and people like that, are pushing, when you guys are always, you're trying to tear down things that you're trying to tear down what Gene Roddenberry did.
Yeah.
And you don't even know it. You're too stupid to know it. Roddenberry actually had to work for it. You have to work for nothing. If you now, Mr. Klutzman, if you want to make a character that's black, no one is stopping you. No one gives you any crap. A character that's gay, you want to make a female lead, anything. You get no pushback whatsoever. Roddenberry had to fight in the dirt for it, okay?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that all these years later, you would not have to. But you idiots love to do this crap with this false persecution complex, and then go out into the media and say, look how great we are because we cast this way. You are a bunch of morons. You're absolute crap, and you're regressive, and you're trying to make us go backwards where Roddenberry was talking about going forward with Star Trek. You are not doing Star Trek. You're just not, and you don't understand what
Preach,
it's about.
baby. God, I love you. Preach. I love it when you raise your voice. I love it when you're passionate. I love your brain. I love you. I love you. I love you.
It's the absolute truth.
I think that's one of the most frustrating things, because instead of going forwards, we're progressing backwards.
That's right. They're regressive. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
You know, it's like when they first in '09. The reason I started the show was because of the filth of the Jar Jar Abrams trash first movie. When that was being announced, my entire argument for the year before it came out, when people would say, "Oh, but you don't know, it might be good," I said, first of all, no, it's I didn't even. I already knew what Abrams was, but even I said, look. You can say what you want about Enterprise. I'm a big fan of it and a defender of it. Even I, a fan of it, will say that maybe a prequel wasn't necessarily the right idea, but I still like the show. Life is nuanced that way. Multiple things can be true at the same time. However, a remake is different than a prequel. A remake is, by definition, about going backwards. Star Trek was always about going forwards, even if they did go backwards in a prequel sense at one point. And that wasn't Roddenberry doing that. He might not have really wanted to do that anyway if he'd been around. But it's about going forward, and it's about thinking forward. That's what Star Trek is all about. That's what Roddenberry did. And all that work he did, you people are trying to destroy it with these. Those of you in charge of this IP now, it's disgusting.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you hit it on the head earlier, where with Michelle Williams, the whole point was she just was part of the the leadership. Yes, I'm so sorry.
Sorry, buddy. Sorry.
It's been a long day.
Go ahead, buddy.
That she just was part of the leadership. She was what you said, fourth in line for command.
Yes.
Whereas nowadays, you see a lot of it is just trying to celebrate and hold up it as though just the existence, it was an achievement on its own.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And again, it was so tough back then. Even in a few years later, Roddenberry was at least able to sneak in there the Lorelei signal. Whatever you think of that episode of the animated series, we get a scene where we get to see Uhura in command of the ship. They had to write it a certain way for it to happen.
Yep.
But we see that she's capable. And again, this is what Roddenberry was trying to do all along with the Cage, with the character of number one. And they fought him every time. This guy, he fought a war, an actual real war for diversity. You idiots today are never will know that. You morons in Hollywood who cast all these things, and you're pathetic. And Roddenberry gave you he's one of many who gave you the ability to not have to fight those fights, and you don't appreciate it.
Preach, baby, preach.
Yeah.
I just absolutely love it. Rant away, Clubby. I just absolutely love it. You are speaking total truth. You are speaking fact. No opinions necessary. Just absolutely outstanding. And Chris Persia is lighting up the chat. He says, this is what happens when people fail to learn history. They ignore what has come before, what has created the pathway for everything they claim to be pioneering. It's all been done before and far better. Chris Persia, I love you so much.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
They ignored things that had happened. They kept saying, "Oh, this is the first non-binary character," and I mean, we just had the, the Binoids and TNG and the,
the Binars.
Binars. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's like, didn't I see that before? I mean, haven't they watched, all the episodes or?
No, they don't know it. They don't. We talk about this a lot all day. We talk about people get, again. You go to the mechanic shop to get your teeth fixed. That's what they're doing here. That's what that's equivalent of what they're doing.
They had it on. They were just watching they were just so engrossed in their phone at the same time. But they basically had it on.
There you go. And Phoenix is right. They damaged her. Of course, it's a remake filth we can't expect anymore. Zoe Saldana, a lovely actress. Isn't she? And again, this is not racism. She's part Dominican, I do believe, which is perfectly fine. But the whole point of the character of her is she's Swahili. She is African.
Yes.
That's kind of the point of the character. And of course, it doesn't matter. They ruined her anyway with the horrible romance with Spock Boy. And then it was just they really I mean, it's but then again, that's not Star Trek anyway. But it just shows you the mentality of the idiots in charge of it. Starting with that 09 trash, and that 09 trash, and of course it's still all a bad reboot, folks. So.
Yeah, and Clubby, I didn't watch that trash because, of course, I'm a part of the 735 Club. I don't watch filth. I don't dig around in the garbage for poopy diapers. But I do know that 09 crap diaper there, that led people to believe that she was like Hoshi Sato, and you could see the backlash. People saying, why didn't she know how to speak all these different languages? She sucked at her job and all this stuff. Like, it has led to so many misunderstandings with the fans the new fans who have never bothered to actually watch TOS. You can't watch TOS by reading Memory Alpha, like little snippets, 1 or 2 lines from Memory Alpha, and you can't know Star Trek by checking Wikipedia.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't understand that going on Wikipedia whatsoever.
For anything, I mean,
Right.
for basic. Yeah.
Everybody lies on there. You can go and change whatever you want on there. It's not factual.
Oh,
It's so
Wikipedia
true.
says that it itself is not a reliable source.
Yeah.
Watch the original series.
And only watch
retro.
735 all the way. Now, before we
I was gonna say, I was a member of the 735 and a half club because I consider Galaxy Quest the spiritual successor, and maybe we'll add the Orville kick me, and maybe the Orville, maybe Orville. Sometimes in my brain, I say that's actually TNG. Yeah,
there are 3 things that are honorary. Well, dude, but in line with that,
is the spiritual follow-up to what Star Trek should be.
There are 3 things that are honorable mention Star Treks.
Okay.
The precursor, something that inspired it called Forbidden Planet.
Mm-hmm.
Galaxy Quest I love Galaxy Quest, but it's just kind of it's sort of a spoof. It does capture a lot of the spirit of Star Trek at the same time. It's not their actor. It's still the characters are actors being put in a real Trek situation, but it deserves an honorable mention because it does a wonderful job of being imaginative and being pure to a heart. And then there's the Orville. Yeah. All at least can have some kinship to Star Trek that I love. That I have to give those all some, at least some Star Trek love. But of course, there's only 735.
Yeah.
But
well said.
735, and I love Doomcock because one time we were on with Doomcock, Clobby and I, and he was saying, we're not gatekeepers. Everybody's always calling us gatekeepers, and I interrupted him and I said, my lord, I have to interrupt you right now and let you know, I am an effing gatekeeper. I don't care what anyone says.
I am too.
I don't care what being called a gatekeeper. That is a badge I wear with pride. That is my Delta. It remains unbroken. My Delta is not broken. I am 735 forever.
I'm a gatekeeper.
Not pass.
That's right. Retro.
I'm a gatekeeper. I don't physically prevent anyone from liking anything they want to like, and I don't hate someone because they disagree on anything. But you could tell me you like any of the filth all day long. I can like you as a person, but I won't consider that you a Trek fan. I'll consider you a nice person. And if you say, who are you to say whether I'm a Trek fan or not? I'm saying, no, you call yourself anything you want. I just, in my mind, I won't consider you one. I'm not doing anything to you. I could love you as a person unconditionally. Just telling you, if you embrace that filth in any way, I question your Trek fanness. And if that makes a bad person, then so what?
Yep.
Yeah, Chris Persia again.
Totally
I mean,
agree.
he's a brilliant guy. He's got his spot on. His quote from Alex Kurtzman. I watched Star Trek a few times at my friend's house. That seems to be the prevalent problem with a lot of writers nowadays. So.
Hey, that's what chin balls over there too.
Yeah, Snorty.
I watched
Snorty some
Doctor
chin
Who a few
scritches.
times. Yeah.
Right. So am I being a gatekeeper when I say Alex Klutzman's not a Star Trek fan?
No,
good, because he's not.
He's a wanker. But,
he is.
Well, he is, but wait, what's wrong with that?
He's a bloody wanker.
What's wrong with being a wanker? Oh, I'm sorry.
Is that our new mantra now?
Is that a bad
He's a wanker. Yeah, there you go. He's a wanker.
That's one of my.
No, you gotta get it right.
Clobby will
hail
always
Chris
be my
Persia. Hail,
captain
man.
because he is my Star Trek soulmate. When this man starts to talk about Star Trek, my heart soars. I
Oh,
just
thank
feel
you.
so much love, and he has so much passion for this IP, and he is so intelligent, and he knows the IP so well. This man is my Star Trek soulmate. Clubby, I love you. Thank you
Oh,
so
I love
much
you.
for creating this channel, for bringing all of these wonderful people together, and for giving us a format to create this community and to talk about this stuff, because you're just aces to me. I love you so much, and not just in this weird streaming ecosystem, in real life. I just love you so much. I cannot wait to get ClobbyCon together. When I see you, I'm gonna smooch your whole face. Andrew and we're taking you out for supper. We are gonna have such a great time, and I love you so much. I just love you.
Well, I love you too.
And
Thank
then the
you for
night
being
ends
here.
with breaking into Mark D's house.
Yeah.
Hey, dude, you weren't supposed to tell him that.
I do have
Yeah.
my
Hey,
forensic
my
toolkit
wife
and
will-
skeleton keys, so
my
we
wife,
don't need to break in anything.
my wife will say, "Oh, there's a Star Trek convention you can go to," and then she'll
Yeah.
welcome
Well,
you guys.
well,
with
you're
open
down
arms.
here at ClobbyCon. We have that.
come,
we have the
come
heist
right
is
in.
planned. The heist is underway. Yeah.
Come right in. You're welcome. Yeah.
In closing, everyone, I'm going to go around the horn and we're going to get everyone to say not only their obviously their farewells for the day, but any closing thoughts they may have about the great bird of the galaxy. Everyone, that's why we're here today. It's why along with people, Gene Roddenberry, people like Jack Kirby, Gene Roddenberry, and many other creators make the things that we love. They inspire us. They give us things for our imaginations to grab onto, and they bring a lot of us together. I got to break that thought because we have a super chat. Brett Cohen for $10. Thank you so much, Brett. We really appreciate you. He says, "Do you think they brought back the OG ethos and heart?" Paige, I think you mean if they, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, my bad. And Paige Shatner to play an aging admiral disgruntled where he is. That in some form they could reboot and give fans faith they wouldn't be burnt. If it were done by somebody like a Ronald E. Moore or something like that, and you got some kind of last bit of like a short scene or something where Shatner reprises the character for a few minutes and he's in the real canon or something like that. But of course, we all know, unfortunately, in the real canon, if you want to call it that, it is real, even though it aggravates me what they did in Generations. I don't know. Some kind of scene like that might be nice, but if it's anything to do with bad reboot, for me, it's dead on arrival, and I will be very disappointed in him if he does that, especially since he doesn't need the money.
Yeah.
I'd be disappointed if he did anything with bad reboot, Brett Cohen. If he did anything that had to do with someone in charge of real Trek, who knows? It might be okay, but they did kill the character. So.
Oh, I hated that.
In
I
a
hated
stupid
that
way,
Yeah,
so.
I hated how they killed him, though. So
I hated
hope
how they
that's
killed him.
Not too convoluted an answer there for you, but
Yeah.
thank you so much, Brett Cohen. Really appreciate you, and always appreciate you being here.
Not the way Kirk should have went out. It was
No,
stupid.
That's a bad. That's another
I like
example
Trek
of bad
books.
time travel. That's that.
Yeah.
We don't want to start talking about that movie now, but that's an example of why I'm sick of time travel and how it can be poorly done in a movie.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Like why didn't Kirk go back
to-
in time to a spot where he could get a phaser and shoot?
Soren,
Soren. Yep. So, but we
There
don't
you
want
go.
to start that.
No, I'm with you.
Did I ever tell you about the time
Can of
that
worms.
I was at a convention and Malcolm McDowell was there, and it was just I walked by him and without even paying any attention to it, because I wanted to be like in character as like I think I was dressed as a Vulcan that day. I just turned around and I looked at him and I said, "My captain destroyed you," and then I just walked away. Oh yeah.
Something tells me he probably didn't minded as much coming from a lovely lady instead of like some little sniveling little fanboy walking around. You killed Kirk, you little.
Well, this is an actor who starred in Clockwork Orange. I think he gets
Right.
the
Yeah, I
irony
think
there.
he's got a thicker skin there.
He
than
did
that.
used to get a lot of crap from people, a lot of like
Yeah.
hate mail and stuff.
Yeah.
Is and it's like, but yeah, he was a really good actor. But
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah,
Clockwork
amazing
Orange.
actor. Yeah.
That's got to be a top 100
Alexander
movie right there.
Siddig's Alexander Siddig, although Alexander Siddig isn't his real name. I believe he actually has 13 names, but that's but I believe it is 13. It's between 9 and 13 names he has, and it's a tribal thing because he's from North Africa.
Oh, wow.
But Alexander Siddig is Malcolm McDowell's nephew.
And Malcolm McDowell was related to the great Roddy McDowell, was he not?
Yes,
I believe
cousins
so. Or brother? Not
Indeed
brother.
he was.
I think cousins or something.
Cousin.
Yep.
I mean, that's some lineage right there. Of course, Roddy was terrific.
Oh yeah, Planet of the Apes.
Planet of the Apes, Fright Night.
We can go on and on and on.
I love Roddy McDowell. He was fantastic.
You blew it up, you goddamn.
So, yeah,
Okay,
Canadian
let's
Spider-Man.
let's get
Canadian
started.
Spider-Man. I agree. When is ClobbyCon again?
Yes, we
I
have to
don't know.
start organizing that. And seriously, you guys, LT, I love that you brought that up. We really do need to get something together, folks. We can do it. I was looking at conventions in Clobby's area, and I was thinking that might be a great catalyst because I don't want everyone to show up in Louisiana and like totally overwhelm Clobby or ask him if
We're
they
all
can
staying
sleep
at
on
his
his
place.
couch.
Yeah.
You're not sleeping on Clobby's Chesterfield. So let's all.
Do I have one of those?
You'll have to clear out your
Chesterfield.
place.
That's so Canadian. Saying Chesterfield. That's awesome.
You'll have to get rid of the action figures in your place so there's room.
Yeah, so so I would if folks would like to start reaching out to us through the Clobberin Times email and just have a look at those convention dates that are in Louisiana. That will allow us to create a catalyst, like a muster point. I want to say muster point, so that we can all meet up and we can choose to Pat S has some ideas in helping us organize it. We were going to do a used bookstore day. We were also going to talk to one of the smaller theaters in the area and see if we can do a screening of the TOS movies. So there are lots of ideas, but my suggestion for everyone, just to ease Clobby's burden, because I don't want him to be inundated with, dozens and dozens of people. And
Financial burden as well, too, right?
Yes.
We all need to chip in.
Right. So let's not do that. Let's not do that to Clobby. Let's make this fun. And how we can do that is by, I believe, and I'm open to suggestions, but I believe we should make the convention in his area the central muster point, the central idea in which we can all meet. So if somebody's feeling tired one day and they sleep in at their hotel, they can meet. We can all, meet in cosplay, or we could all meet for dinner, or we could all, go down and have breakfast together and so on and so forth. But just so people don't feel pressure to socialize or feel like LT just said, any type of financial burden. So please go and look at those convention dates and start expressing your wants and your needs and perhaps some of your ideas. Go ahead and email those to Clobby. He can forward them to me because I keep my email private. And I will start bringing all of your ideas together, and then maybe we can actually make this happen. I love Clobby, and I know all of you want to have ClobbyCon, so let's actually do it. And I know we can do it. Let's do it.
Well, I love you, and since you still have the floor here, I want you to say any closing remarks you may have about the great word of the galaxy, Gene Roddenberry, and of course, anything else you have to add. I know we got a show coming up Saturday night, and
We do.
also, I want you to talk about what I'm putting up there right now, your literary works. Go.
Oh my goodness, you don't have to do that. I hate it when other people use the show just to promote themselves. But
It's your show too. Don't you want that?
It's extraordinarily generous of you. Yes, folks, I write science fiction short story. I especially love flash fiction. If you like The Twilight Zone, if you like Philip K. Dick, if you like Edgar Allan Poe, you might be interested in my science fiction and its short story and flash fiction. So you can buy that at Amazon. You can also get it on your Kindle device under R.M. Briggs. Yes, and I just want to extend an invitation to all of you listening out there. Please join us on this channel. We do a regular show called Saturday Night Star Trek, and we are going from 1966, technically 1964, but 1966 to 2005. I affectionately coined the term the 735 Club because, of course, we have TOS 79 plus 6, TAS 22, TNG 178 plus 4, DS9 176, Voyager 172, and Enterprise, or ENT, as we like to call it, at 98. So we're going through that in a chronological order. Obviously, there are some logistics, but yes, we're going from beginning to end, and it's a celebration. Trekkies coming together to talk about this wonderful IP, to celebrate it, to rate it, to laugh, to cry, to talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, and to just share. And as far as my parting thoughts go, I think it's really important. I once saw an interview with the wonderful Magel or Magel, however you want to say it. There are probably about 10 different ways to say her name. Miss Hudek, or as you would know her, Magel or Magel Roddenberry. I saw an interview with her one time, and she was quite aged, and she was very sad, which is not usual for her. She's a very bubbly person. And in this interview, her face, she looked like she was going to cry. And she said something to the effects of course, nowadays everybody remembers my husband as a producer, a person who came up with ideas to make Star Trek. But everyone needs to know that behind the scenes, my husband was an author. My husband was a writer. He was a talented author and a talented writer. And that's what I think it should be my parting thought for today. I think that we did a great job in celebrating this wonderful human being, Gene Roddenberry, how we love him, and this wonderful little universe that he created for all of us to go to and to come together and celebrate all these wonderful ideas that he introduced to the world, that he celebrated with the world, that he taught the world. But don't ever forget that, please. Don't ever forget that when Gene was that this entire idea was Gene's, and he worked with other writers, and those other writers made him better. But Gene is not a producer. Gene was an author. You know, when they were all sitting around and they were talking about how they were going to afford a shuttlecraft, and Gene just said, I think I have an idea for that. What if we had a transporter? What if we conceived technology where we could just take apart someone's ions and molecules and put them all together and take them apart and put them together again? And we'll call it a transporter. So I want you to think about that. I want you to think about what it would be like to be around a genius like Gene Roddenberry, who could just come up with ideas on the spot. And at the end of the day, the person who wrote the episode or who helped write the teleplay would be listed as the author. But who is actually the author of many of these ideas, of many of these things that have inspired us? All of the inventions we have, the iPad, the your cell phone, your think of all the little pieces of technology, iPads. They even named it an iPad, for goodness sake. So that's my parting thought. Thank you, Gene Roddenberry. Thank you for inspiring a generation of astrophysicists, a generation of engineers and designers. Thank you for 735 iterations of pure beauty, of bringing society together, of helping us to think about the tough stuff and to come out on the other side of it, united, loving, strong, and educated for it. I adore you, Gene Roddenberry. You are missed.
Wonderfully said. Wonderful. Absolutely. Thank you so much, number one. That was beautiful. Let's see here. Mr. Raymond Feliciano, sir. I know you hadn't much chance to talk. So if you have anything to say about Gene Roddenberry, and of course, here's a link, everyone, to Raymond's works, his fictional works, right there. His writings. Go ahead.
How
Go
can
ahead,
I
buddy.
follow that?
You don't have to, man. You could just say you love Gene, but go for it.
I can't follow it.
I hear you. You can't. No one can, man.
All
You
I can
guys.
say is if I had a chance to meet Gene, all I would do is just shake his hand and say thank you for what you did, for giving us a universe to experience and to dream.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man.
Thanks to Mark D last night. That was a great time.
Yes, sir.
My throat is still.
Well, excellent, man. Thank you so much for being here as always, buddy. It was such a pleasure having you. We have now, let's see, our good buddy Ironcaster is here somewhere. There he is. So let's say, there you go.
I'm hiding in plain sight.
Casting of Iron. Go for it, man. Give anything you might like to say about Gene, either way, or just plug away at your wonderful channel.
There we go. Sorry, setting things up here. I can't talk. Gene Roddenberry's works have shaped the world in many ways that I don't think anyone at the time had ever thought. No one had ever thought would be feasible, and it's a testament to the man's legacy that all these that a century after his birth, well, century now, it's century since his birth, that he's still held up as one of the greatest visionaries of the last 100 years, and I'm thankful for his work.
Well, we're thankful for you, man. We appreciate you being here, buddy. And let's see here. The great Mark D with AC. Let's see.
I was on mute. Sorry. Thank you. Yeah, I love hearing that great from you. That's just so. Thank you.
You're the man.
But God, Roddenberry. I mean, as Ironcaster said, visionary. I mean, his legacy lives on, and that's a testament to anything that's so well done and so appreciated. So many years after, and I think the love of the original series was shown with how it came back. I mean, who would have was a TV series ever rebooted at that point, or gone into movie form? Or I mean, I'm not sure it's ever happened before, or before that happened with Star Trek. I mean, we've seen obviously reboots now, but the original cast coming back. I mean, that was just so amazing to see that in that first motion picture, and we love that crew as a family, and also as Raquel has mentioned, and other people have mentioned, let's check out other works by Roddenberry. We'd posted some of the links to some of his other pilots and TV shows. So he's not just Star Trek, although he'll be remembered for Star Trek, but it's just a testament to how much we love his work and a true visionary. I mean, the man had some faults like we all do, and I don't like it. Excuse me. When people pick on that and try to focus on those things, and and there's a lot of speculations, it's not true on the internet, but just look at the work that he created and the vision, and how hopeful it is for the future, and how we want to envision a world without racism, without poverty, without greed, and all those things. And he did it in a way that wasn't preaching and wasn't looking down on the audience, but it was elevating the audience and saying it subtly, this is the way things should be, and this is an example of how the world can be. And I often thought of, as we're enjoying TNG with your show on Saturday night with Raquel, they said, well, how can we write characters without conflict? And I said, well, look at the first 3 seasons of TOS. They were able to do it without having petty bickering and not like writing it like a soap opera. So it's an example, and it's too far too few of we don't really get classic TV like that anymore. So it's just like to salute Gene Roddenberry and you know, thank him. You know, if he's looking down for the great bird of the galaxy, you know, thank him for all the work that he's created and all the great memories and the fellowship that we've enjoyed. Thanks to him, you know, bringing us together, and you know, personally with friends and now friends on YouTube. It's just it's more than an IP. It's, you know, it's more than a show. It's just a great. I'm searching for the right words, but it's just something that brings us all together. And
absolutely,
it's more than a TV show.
It's a phenomenon, man.
Yep.
I appreciate you, bro.
Thank you,
dude. Thank you so much, man. The great Lord Thoth, buddy.
I believe in humanity. We are an incredible species. We're still just a child creature. We're still being nasty to each other. And all children go through these phases. We're growing up. We're moving into adolescence now. When we grow up, man, we're going to be something. You know, Gene Roddenberry means a lot to me. He changed my life, literally. Without him, I wouldn't be the person I am today. And I can say that with certainty, absolute certainty. His sacrifice, his imagination, his perseverance, and getting the diversity, the joy, the love of all of his life and putting into a show changed the lives of millions of people. This is a man that, you know, truly meant a lot to our culture and our mythology today. One of the saddest days of my life was when he passed away. We're celebrating his birthday today, 100 years of a great man, a true visionary, not only in the genre of science fiction, but in any writing, any storytelling that's out there today. This man is missed every day of our lives. I wish he was still here today, because we would be able to see such great joy, such great passion, such great vision in more television shows and more movies. And just listening to him talk was truly a gift that he's given to the rest of the world. So, Gene, I hope that you are still up there telling stories to everybody up there with Socrates and Plato and Shakespeare and all those other thousands of literary geniuses that you are a part of. Thank you for changing my life. Thank you for being a part of it. I miss you.
Oh my
Well
God, I
said.
love you, LT. Oh my
That was
God, I
beautifully
love
said,
you,
man.
LT.
Well,
What? Thank
said,
you,
sir. Absolutely. The great man, Retro Dicky. Any closing words you have to say, sir, about the great bird of the galaxy?
Thank you, Gene Roddenberry, for giving us hope, something to aspire to, something that we can become, something that we can be better for, something that we can strive to be. That is what mankind will become. You will be missed. You are missed greatly. Thank you so much. The great bird in the sky.
Yep. Thank you, man. Thank you so
Love
much.
you, Retro
Appreciate you.
Dicky. Love you.
Yep. Yes, indeed. And now, Jed, after Jed goes, I'm going to have a little treat for everyone instead of just saying goodbye. I've got a little special thing to show everybody. First, I got to find you, Jed. There you are. No.
Yeah.
Jed, go for me.
And
you can plug the channel, of course. Obviously.
Oh yeah, I'm not gonna plug the channel. We have it up there.
No, it's fine.
Yeah. I like I said earlier, I come on I'm one of the few lucky people in the world that got to spend some time with him because of my parents. And if I know what I knew now back then, it's just, you know, he paved the way for technology, hope, love, like, so we can. He wanted to be the. That's part of. I know some people think I'm sarcastic as hell, but a little reason why I have some of the optimism is because of him. Because I am sarcastic because we see so much bad things in the world, but part of the reason why I have that hope and stuff is because of him, and it. I he is missed, he is loved, and I think I wish he was here because we would need him now more than ever. I really do. Gene, I wish you were here so you could do what you needed to do to help people see the way to go forward. I know you left your template, and God bless you for that. But I just wish you were here so we wouldn't have so much bad things in the world right now. But thank you.
All right, man. Well, I have
big
this
hugs,
thing,
Jed. Big hugs.
For those who weren't around in 1992, as far as I think you all probably remember something called the Sci-Fi Channel. Remember that?
Oh yeah,
when it was good.
Yeah.
Isn't it Siffy?
Yeah, now it is.
Stupid four letters now.
Now it is.
Yeah, it's stupid 4 letters now, not sci-fi anymore.
Well, as Mark Dean with a C and I were messing around on a show the other night, we were talking about this, Mark. In 1992, when they first announced the Sci-Fi Channel, I could not contain my excitement, and for about 2 weeks leading up to the launch of that channel, which at the time and for a few years was really, really, really good. We loved it. I was just happened to be the most lucky one in the area that was getting it. So 2 weeks, they had this countdown on the channel that it was going to be on, and they had all these crazy, weird sci-fi music and the countdown with all these great images and stuff like that, and couldn't wait. The night it was going to debut, the first thing that we were going to show was Star Wars. No bloody episode 4 or New Hope or any of that crap. Far freaking. I think it's not a bad idea to show that for your first thing to show. But on the countdown, if this adds any more weight, because I know this is 1992, this is right after it passed. I'm going to show you a few seconds of the last couple of seconds of the countdown. 2 weeks of the countdown. I remember this thing, and then we showed this the other night, if you remember, Mark. Yeah, and it's kind of not a great picture because this was 1992. This is from an old VHS. But take a look at this. I'm sure this guy recorded it. There's no copyright, that kind of stuff going on, something like this. So tell me when you can see that. Let's see, make sure it's on there. Is it popping on there? It should be.
Popping
on. Loading, boss. Don't worry, it's loading, boss.
Slow. This thing's slow. Yeah.
It'll go. Yep. That's an old VHS tape. That's why.
Oh, wow.
No, not that. I'm talking about.
I know.
I'm just talking about the StreamYards.
Yeah, I know. I was joking. Yeah.
Man, look, I just hit to blow the screen up and look at things. Okay, here we go. This is the last 11 seconds before the thing comes on. Tell me if you
maybe hit the full screen on YouTube too. Clobberin Times on the icon for full screen. Yep.
Oops.
And you also should put Chris Persia's words up there too when you're done too. Whenever you're done there, and
I will.
Yeah.
Did y'all hear that?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, we can hear it. Yep.
Okay, just want to make sure because maybe hit the wrong button there, Mark. But give me the gesture just so you know. All right, let's see. Let me see how it looks. Okay, here we go. 10 seconds, and watch the. They're launching a channel that shows science fiction shows. Who else's name was put there? 2 weeks of this they were doing.
I remember that countdown, man. Wow, that's a deep cut.
Yeah.
I had the old satellite dish. My dad had an old satellite dish with the big, 30-foot satellite in the back.
Yeah, I was
Nice.
over at my friend's house when this
The
happened.
dish?
So
Oh,
We had,
yeah.
we had the dual MMBs on the back of ours on the old analog days.
Yeah.
Well, this was so cool back then. I couldn't contain myself.
I was excited too.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is
I love-
amazing.
I love
Yeah.
the sci-fi. I love the sci-fi channel.
It
They
looked
got a guy
like
who recorded like
it looked
a
like a
couple hours
Doctor
of
Who
this.
crossed with Space 1999 intro there.
It reminds me of the HBO, the one they had for HBO.
Oh,
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Yes,
Well, no.
baby. Yes. For those of you that are podcasting at home and not participating in the live chat, the tile is showing a dedication to Isaac Asimov, the great Isaac Asimov and Gene Roddenberry.
Yes.
Didn't get better dedication than that. And then they announced, this is hilarious.
Oh, FTL.
Ty Densmore, curator of the Skywalker Floater Museum and Theme Park, announced today that the only known
Skywalker.
print of the 165-year-old science fiction masterpiece Star Wars has been located and fully restored. The film will soon be transferred to
So
Holodeck
they
so
plunged
that
the Disney
legions of
vaults?
Star Wars fans can enjoy
This
the
is more Disney. How,
Yeah.
how dare you?
But now,
That's why it's been recovered. Yep.
Yeah,
A
exactly.
sneak preview of the fully restored Star Wars.
The original version.
In
The
its
proper
entirety
version.
on the Sci-Fi Channel immediately following this report.
Yeah.
No bloody 4.
More news,
Yeah.
Just about to say that too. You beat me to it.
controversy.
I'm subtly
Be sure to
craving
watch the next
Danishes.
regularly scheduled
No bloody
Nobody
prequels,
A, B,
no
C,
4,
or D.
and no sequels.
Oh, that was great.
FTL.
That was wonderful. Oh, absolutely fabulous.
That is a great throwback, Clobby. That's brilliant.
Oh, fabulous.
I thought that would
dude.
be a fun thing to show because of, again, the
Oh,
Sci-Fi Channel was once really wonderful, and it was
I loved
also
Loved
once
it.
just I mean, it was just so cool back
Just
then.
a joy.
And-
Just a joy.
they had Dark Shadows and everything else on there.
Oh, they showed
Doctor
Trek.
Who, like
Doctor
classic.
Who, they
Twilight
showed real
Zone.
Trek. Yeah,
Snail
So-
Messiah, I love you.
Yeah.
that was. I just thought that would be fun to show that. I mean, dedicating it to Gene like that. I thought so. One little quick show note. I will say that a show that was also inspired by Trek in a lot of ways, and is a cousin to Trek, The Great Babylon 5. Our buddy Fat Steven had to run. There is a link in the chat to his show this next Monday night, I believe, where he will have the wonderful actress Patricia Tallman from Babylon 5 as his guest. And I congratulate
Wow.
Steve on that. And
Hashtag save gingers.
and I think we will end.
Yeah.
Indeed, she's a wonderful ginger. I love her. We will end with our great buddy, the master of all that is French Canadian, Chris Persha, who says, as much as Tolkien shaped the mythology for the UK, Gene has given us a universe of hope and inspiration for a better world. A modern mythology which birthed much of the technology of today. Thank you.
It's true.
Yeah.
It is so true.
Great
Very
comment.
well said. Really well said.
Thank you, Chris. It's true.
Yeah.
Totally true.
Brilliant.
Thank you all for being here today, and not just my wonderful panel of wonderful friends, but also you out there in the chat, and anyone else who happened to have listened to this either live or on a repeat. Now, because this is in conjunction with our Saturday night Star Trek show, which we invite you all to join us this Saturday night. By the way, we're starting our review of the second season of Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Yes.
So we hope you will join us. We were having a wonderful time doing that, and now we will exit with using our wonderful Trek intro outro theme, which of course was provided by my magnificent and beautiful and amazing First Officer R.M. Raquel Briggs, and I love you for number one. And with a little assist to get it here by the great Mark D with a C. So everyone, thank you all so much. And Gene Roddenberry, 100 years. Because you do exist. We know you're not with us physically anymore, but you're with us in spirit, and your spirit will be with us forever. And we love you, Gene Roddenberry, and we can never, it's not possible for one little podcast or 50,000 podcasts to express what you've meant to the world, of the planet Earth. Thank you, Gene Roddenberry. You will forever live long and prosper. Good night, everyone.
Yeah.